Matt Weber.
Yes.
Matt with
Present.
one T.
Two.
Two
There
T's?
is 2 T's.
Okay. Glad I asked you.
There is 2 T's.
Good. It's good to meet you. And like I say, I've seen your company all the time. We always dealt with your guys. I even had I don't know, like I was saying a minute ago, you guys were always nice guys. They always came by. They supported us a ton when we were doing what we were doing there. And
Great
you guys
breakfast
supported
burgers.
us, and we appreciated that. And I only heard good things about you guys. And my son Connor used to deal with you guys a lot more. Like he was driving the truck mostly a lot.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
so he would come over and be the guy stopping by, and he was like, "Oh, they're all really cool there." I'd be stressing out about something, or he's always like, "Oh no, they're cool." I'm like, "Okay, but I still like." We can't, that's great that people are cool, but this has to be right, you know.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And anyway, he was always like,
No,
"Oh
it's
yeah,
great. We were mowing down on burritos, I love breakfast burritos.
I do too, man."
So yeah.
You know what's funny is even now I just pretty much that's all I cook is breakfast.
Yeah.
April does all the fancy cooking,
Right.
and I cook some eggs, and so I do some burritos at home, or I'll do whatever, steak and eggs or something. But
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of steak and eggs. But
It's good protein.
That's
where
my
it's
go-to
at.
breakfast: steak and eggs.
That's where it's at.
Steak and eggs and a protein shake, and I go out the door and start my day.
Nice.
I just feel better.
Yeah, I don't even drink coffee until after I eat at least 20 grams of protein now, and I've noticed a huge difference. No crash.
Really?
No crash in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, I was dude. I was like
I'm
on
gonna take that under advisement because the
Yeah.
first thing I do is drink coffee.
No, so I quit drinking coffee on an empty stomach, and I take 20 grams. I have 20 grams of protein, whether it's eggs, protein drink, cottage cheese, or whatever in the morning, and then I'll go have my coffee. Probably about 25 to 30 minutes after I've consumed that protein, and I've noticed no crash during the middle of the day.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's
I'm
any
gonna test
sign.
it. I'm
Testing
testing
it
that.
and see if it's just
I'm
me.
testing that.
This guy
I'm
and his
testing that
discipline.
for sure. Because I'm in a whole new phase myself. Like I've lost almost 30 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just eating well. I'm not eating any worse. Like I eat really good food.
Yeah.
I'm not eating any worse. I'm just watching what I eat. And sugar is the number one cutout. I don't eat any sugar, which is tough, bad, because I like cookies and I like,
I'm an ice cream guy, and I got a real problem.
right?
Yeah.
But, it looks like your metabolism's a little bit different than mine.
Yeah,
So.
it's crazy. Mine's stupid. Yeah.
So sugars are not good for me, and so not for any other health reason than it puts weight on my belly. But so I've been watching what I eat and just working out at least once a day. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Man, I was hitting the treadmill for a while recently, and in the last 2 weeks, all of a sudden I've just stopped, and I was on a good run there. I had I had a bunch of a month in a row, of hitting it every day, and I was doing good. I was feeling better, and then I don't know what happened. We got working on these other projects at home, and I've missed that. I went for a walk today, and we have kind of a steep driveway. Just walking up that driveway, I was just, why is this driveway kicking my rear end?
right.
And I think it's just literally that, just dropping off for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Because I was noticing before that, I'd be walking up my hill, and I'd be like, man, I'm powering up this thing. And I think just dropping off, even for a couple of weeks, makes a difference.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I think so.
You lose it kind of quick.
I'm
I'm looking over there at Mr. Discipline.
this guy.
No, I'm not. It's not that. I guess. But you're right, because I didn't work out for 44 days because of my trip to Africa and then work and a few other things. And it was 44 days between I went to the gym, and it is like I'm starting from scratch.
Oh,
it was just so miserable. And most of it was my endurance. And it didn't help that I ate and drank in Africa 3 times what I normally do. But that 44 days out of the gym was just killer.
Great.
And I just had filled up yesterday was my last page on my notebook. I've done just under 3,000 workouts.
Holy mackerel.
Wow.
Yeah, that I've since I started keeping track. And I kept my first notebook started at the beginning of 2014.
Holy
So 10
moly.
years of
Okay.
workouts is about 3,000 workouts.
Damn, I just started my workout journal too.
I feel really behind.
I just started. Yeah, I'm way behind too because I just started mine like a month and a half ago.
Yeah,
August.
You got to start somewhere.
August is when I started it. So,
but you look like a young guy.
I just turned 40
Yeah,
in March.
so
I'm
you're
not that young,
but it's not. Too
I don't
late
feel
either.
that young.
Yeah, but it's not too late either. You know.
Right.
Yeah. See, and I'm the exact opposite. I don't feel 42.
Yeah.
Then I look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm bald and I got gray hair in my beard. I am 42.
Dude, I've started to notice. That's the one thing that I've been holding on to because I got a full head of hair, but I'm graying. There's a lot of gray going on in my beard and in my hair, and so that's the one thing that really I was like, oh man, okay, all right, it's happening.
Not me. I'll be turning 35 here any day now.
There you go.
No, I've got you guys for quite a bit actually, so it's kind of funny now.
Well, you
It's
look
weird.
good for it.
Oh,
then,
thanks.
if that's quite a bit.
Thanks. Hey, I'm 50.
Okay.
So
Yes, you are.
it's kind of weird all of a sudden be the guy who's like the oldest guy in the room. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, there's a period in your life where you're always around people that seem to be like, they've got more years in at the workplace or whatever. You're always the young guy or something. And now I notice, I'm like, oh man, a lot of times now I'm the oldest guy in the room. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then I have April's grandma who's like, you're just a kid.
Right.
Yeah, my grandma, she's in her early 90s.
Yeah.
And she's still living at home. She lives in Laurel. She's
killing it. I just seen her the other day.
Yeah, she was at Clay's 40th birthday. My brother turned 40 last week, so
It's all perspective, huh?
it is.
Yep.
Wow. What end of the timeline you're at? I know.
Yeah. I did see somebody put a post. One of my buddies, a photographer buddy, he's like, I'm looking things in a different perspective now. He's older than me, but he's like, once you hit 40, the average, you only have like 35 years left. Average American male has 35 years left after you hit 40. So then he's like, I'm starting to look at it as not years, but experiences. And he said something on his post, like he's only got like on average 27 more elk ruts to experience. And you look at it that way and you're like, shit.
Oof.
That just puts a ton in perspective.
Yeah.
But
gives you a big old sense of urgency all of a sudden. You're like, I got to fit it in.
Yeah, not maybe a sense of urgency, more is like, man, cherish these moments because they're freaking limited.
They are. They are. And I mean, I've got a kid that's just getting ready to turn 10, so as my oldest. And so
your oldest is 10.
Yeah, my oldest. So I'm an old dad comparatively. Like I remember.
That's awesome though.
I remember in college having some buddies that had a kid and their kids were super cool and I thought they were super cool and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for a kid. No, I was not. I was not even ready to get married at that point in time, let alone have a kid. So, I'm glad I didn't have a kid until I was 30 because I was not even close to prepared. Not dogging. I'm not saying everybody has their own journey.
Facts.
But mine was definitely. I couldn't. I was not prepared.
I was always the youngest dad at events.
Okay.
So I'll tell you, I look at it like I was always telling my kids, like I have one grandchild now. Like my kids are all toward 30. Like my youngest now is like, he's getting up into his later 20s. Anyway, they've all held off. And I think maybe they're all traumatized. I'm pretty sure. Right?
Don't do this.
Yeah. So, but I'm like, just do things at the right, like don't feel this fault just because all your friends or anybody's having kids or they're doing this or that. Don't have some false sense of urgency. You do things in your time and be ready for that phase. Like I was completely unprepared.
Yeah.
And the amount of stress I was under financially, just being young and getting started, trying to figure out life and all that kind of stuff. It's really hard to appreciate those moments when your kids are little.
Yeah.
And like, I look at a guy like you and you're like, I'm 40 and my oldest is 10. I'm like, wow. Like if I'd have been 40. Like I was getting close to all my kids being graduated by the time I was 40.
Right.
Okay. So yeah,
a whole different perspective, which is where we kind of started.
Yeah.
You know?
So I look at that and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, you're much more. It's much more like you've got things more under control. You can be a little bit more even keel.
Yeah.
I know for a fact you can handle it more maturity wise.
Yes.
Financially, because as a dad, you're trying to be a provider. And when you're young and you're just getting started in life and you're a dad and you don't have any money and, as your kids are like going up and they're like, we don't have nice things or whatever, because you're like, yeah, well, their dads have been in the workplace for 10 more years than I was, or whatever it may be. So some of those pressures, then all of a sudden you're like, gosh, it's hard to appreciate that little league game when you're like, man, I'm stressed out because my car's breaking down on the way here and I got to get, long hours of work, whatever it is in life.
Yeah.
You're just not as prepared being a young dad. Not that I'm saying not everybody nobody can't do it being young. You can, but yeah, it's definitely the harder way.
It's a different stage. It's a different stage. It's a different. Everybody, as you obviously. It's as you get older, you grow older, and you get older, and you gain more knowledge. You gain more time in the workplace and things like that. And so, it's. I looked at, like I said, I had quite a few buddies who had some kids in my early 20s. That I looked up to also, at that point in time. And I think that is a big part of being a man as well. Like, hey, I'm ready to make my way. I'm ready to also procreate. That's a big part of who we are. And so it is, being a father is definitely something to aspire to, in my opinion. I think with all of our opinions being dads, I don't know where I was going with that.
It's a big responsibility. It's a big responsibility.
It's a huge responsibility, and the more you go through life, the more you understand responsibility. And so, going to your point, being the older dad, wait until I was 30 to have kids. I wasn't even ready to get married until I was 29. I wasn't mature enough to provide my wife the stability to be able to do that type of thing. And so I just it's an incredible responsibility, and I think it's something that that's amazing. So anyway, sorry.
My oldest,
I went off on a tangent. Didn't know where I was going with it.
No.
I
I was tracking with you. My oldest, it's funny. It probably doesn't mean as much to anybody else, but it did blow his mind and mine. The other day, he'd turned 31 or something, and he's been married now for several years, doing his career. He's done 8 years in the Army. He's now in the Coast Guard. Got a college degree and totally went, proud of him. Like he went a totally different route than I obviously went. And because I was like, don't go that way. I've been that way. I can't tell you which way to go. Don't go that way, And so he went a different route. And now, so the other day he turns 31 or whatever. And I said to him, you're now 2 years away from being the age I was when we moved to Montana. And we moved here when he started his freshman year in high school. And that blew his mind. He was all of a sudden, wait, I'm almost the age that you were when we moved to Montana? I'm like, yeah, you're 2 years away from being the age I was when we moved to Montana. And it just really he was just like, wow, time has flown. I'm like, I know. I'm like, I know, dude. You're like, and it put it in perspective of like, wow, I'm like, now he's being able to relate, like, where he is in life, where was his dad at that point? Yeah. And when you start to put those things together, I do that too with my own dad. I look at his life, his career, whatever, and I'm like, man, I'm now at this point in my dad. Do you do that? Do you sit there and?
So with I remember when I turned 40, I was like, man, I remember celebrating my mom's 40th birthday. My dad's 7 years older than my mom. But I was like, man, I remember here in Montana, because we were in Phoenix. for a short time. I was born in Bozeman, moved to Phoenix for 4 years, and then moved back here into Columbus. We lived with these guys for 9 months. Six
or 9 months,
somewhere in there.
I slept on a front porch.
Yeah, and there were my whole family slept. 5 of us slept in one room.
Wow.
So it was a crazy time. But I remember here in Montana celebrating my mom's 40th birthday, and so that when I turned 40, I was like, oh shit, this is serious. Like, this is serious business.
Yeah.
This is I'm getting up there, I guess.
Yeah, and when she was turning 40, you were like, oh, my mom's like, that's just what you couldn't even grasp that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like the black balloons, the over the hill, you know, whatever.
Yeah, she's so much older.
Whatever it is now. And so, yeah, I turned 40, and I was just, the men have like 53 to 50% of their life gone by the time they're 40 or whatever it is. And so you know, from that, it was just it wasn't a weird, because I don't celebrate birthdays. My family doesn't celebrate birthdays. And so it's a day we acknowledge it, right? Like, hey, happy birthday. It's your birth date. And so it's not a huge, big celebration for the individual. And, but 40 for me was just a kind of an awakening. Last year I went through a lot of things, good things. I quit smoking almost 2 years ago now, 2 and 3 or a year and 3/4, whatever. But almost 2 years now. I'll say almost 2 years. Lost a bunch of weight. Started working out. Thinking about longevity, I guess you could say. So, and for coming up on that 40 mark was a big one for me.
What kind of difference have you felt? Like, how long had you been smoking?
I had been smoking since like off and on in the early years. From 17 to 24, and then heavy from 20, like a pack a day, 24 to 2 years ago.
Wow. And what did you feel different?
I mean, I breathe a lot better. And I can. That's the number one thing. I can breathe a lot better. The smoke that's been in the air the last few weeks has been kicking my ass. But
me too. I think I've had a sore throat, honestly, for the last 2 days. I woke up and I was just like, where is this coming from? Like,
it's that smoke that you see. You can actually see it blowing through the trees out here. Today is not as bad. Yesterday was brutal. Yesterday and the day before were brutal. So yeah, I feel a lot better. Being consciously working out. Like today, even I'm going to Bozeman. I was like, man, I've got some time to spend over here. I'm gonna go hit up the hot springs. I went to work for a while. I went and met some clients in Bozeman. Got that all taken care of. Went and sat in a juice bar. Not a coffee shop, but an actual juice bar. Yeah, that's the type of things that are open in my mind. I had some really good, like, sugar-free, health, like, fresh squeezed juice. Yeah. It was delicious, and maybe really go to the bathroom later on, but it was delicious. So I did that and sat for a couple hours and did a bunch of work and was like, I'm gonna go to the hot springs. I'm gonna go doing the cold pool and the sauna. That's just what I do when I go to the Bozeman hot springs, outside of when my family comes with me. So when my family comes with me, I don't necessarily get to do that. Right. But I did that. But before that, I threw my shorts on. I went and worked out for an hour before I went and did that. So. Those are the types of things that I wouldn't have done that I'm more conscientious of now, I guess.
I don't know why it takes us so long to get around. I'm a late bloomer about that, about caring about that stuff, too.
I am, too. So
some of us not. I mean, Cole, you've been like Some people adopt that really early. I think most of us don't, though.
See, mine was more for a mental purpose, though. Not so much as for work, body-wise, but it was like I needed that release from work every day.
Yeah.
Just to clear my mind, especially when I would go home and the girls and Shasta would be like, "You're treating us like you treat a criminal." And then I'm like, "Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right."
Well, quit breaking the law.
Yeah, I know. Right? Listen to your dad.
These are the rules.
Right? But no, it was one of those... well, I guess it was two things. I didn't want to be the fat cop. Nothing irritates me more than a fat, out-of-shape cop. I mean, there should be some kind of standard that you're representing as a career field as a whole. And secondly, I needed it for my mental health. And the side effects of it, the muscle, all that, whatever. But it was for being able to go home at night and completely detach myself as much as I could. Yeah. From the time I get off of work until when I go home. And I mean, I'm still a little chubby. I'm a healthy chubby, maybe, if there's such a thing, because I like my beer.
That is it.
Yeah, but it makes a big difference.
It does.
With the mental health to be doing that type of stuff. I think that's also why I run. I've been running a bit lately, too. I just feel better through the day to go out and to do that. I cannot make myself cold plunge yet, man. We've talked about it. I don't know how many times.
I love cold plunge.
You love it too?
I love cold plunges.
Man, I can't do it.
My mother-in-law blows my mind. She's crazier about cold plunges than I am. I've got pictures and videos on my phone that my father-in-law has sent me. She, in the dead of winter, he owns a nice property out west of Billings, out on 312 going towards Shepherd. It's his business property, but he's built a pond out there. Great pond, amazing, and huge. I don't know. It just reminded me of last night's debate.
I picked up on
anyway. No, we could go to that later if you want to, but it was anyway. So there's one part of it that's always flowing, so it never freezes. There's ice, super thick ice on this pond, and she dedicated 3 to 4 times a week. Oof. Gets in this water for 4 minutes out of the day, hops out. But I do love a good cold plunge. So
3 to 4 minutes, man.
She's in there for 3 to 4 minutes.
I'm stage 3 hypothermia by then.
See, I like the cold plunge too. It
feels good.
It does feel good.
I did a bunch of it today.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Ah, man.
Again, the mindset though. You're like, if you do it first thing in the morning, and we've talked about this before, you do it first thing in the morning, you're beating something that is super uncomfortable. It's like, that's my
do that or take a 5-minute cold shower.
Yep.
Which is even worse than a cold plunge.
Okay, because I've only done the cold showers, and they are so rough. I'm a guy, I wake up in the morning, I want to take a hot shower just to warm up. Get my core temp up a little bit. I taking a hot shower, just to warm up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a skinny guy. I wake up and I'm like, ooh, it's chilly from there to here. I want to hop in a hot shower.
Okay.
Right? Cold water, when I get out of bed and I'm all chilly and I'm like, ooh, I'm chilled. And then to go get into cold water, that's death.
No, I don't. I like it.
Yeah.
I turn the shower on cold. I'll hop in the shower in the morning before work and I shower quick because I don't like heat. I don't like being hot. I'd rather be cold than hot. And then I'll crank that baby cold, and I'll sit in there for 2, 3, 4 minutes, just with that cold water beating down on
mackerel.
Me, and ready to go.
And cold water is worse than a cold plunge.
Yes, because you don't get to build that film around you. With that
cold shower is worse.
Cold shower is way worse because it's fresh cold water all the time. Whereas when you're sitting in a cold plunge, a pond or a stock tank, whatever, or an actual cold plunge, your body insulates itself by superheating the thin layer of water around you, and as soon as that water is disturbed, then it's super cold again.
That's where you see now the big thing in the cold plunge ones are the ones that move, have jets in it that constantly move the water.
Man.
So
I've done the cryo.
I've never done that before,
and I don't mind that too bad. I go in there and it's cold, but it's not like cold water.
Right.
It's much more doable. I don't know why.
Yeah, I've gone to Billings and done cryo a few times.
Yeah, I have too.
Just to see what it's like.
How is
Me
it?
too.
I don't know. I can fill up the cold plunge and get
Do the
cold.
same thing?
Get cold too. So I'm sure there's health benefits to it. I
Right.
just haven't really researched it enough to.
I do 3 minutes at like 150 below zero.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could do that.
All right.
It's not as bad as a cold shower
No.
or whatever that water's coming out of the well. That is 10
All right.
times worse.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe one of these days I'll man up. Got to do
I'm
it.
gonna have to one of these days.
I like
know.
it. It feels good.
It does.
feels good on the body, actually.
So you guys go way back. What-
Well, yeah.
How old were
Long
you
time.
then? When were you? What were you guys doing? What shenanigans were you guys up to? So you guys had moved back here, like friends of the family or something, and you guys were staying with them for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they met. So his parents and my parents met through church.
Yep.
Right after you guys moved back here.
Yep.
And you'd have to ask our parents how it all worked out, but I mean, we weren't very old.
No.
Gosh.
We moved back to Montana from Arizona when I was 10. So it was 10 or 11
Yeah.
that we were staying with you guys.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming back from
So my
Arizona-
son's age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Son's age.
Yeah, isn't that weird? All of a sudden when that clicks. Did coming back from Arizona was it just like humdrum or whatever, or was Montana more like a wonderland?
No, I was pissed because in Arizona at the time you could hunt at 10. You could hunt at 10 years old in Arizona, and I was pissed. I was so mad at my parents because it was the first time, like it was the first season I was going to be able to go hunt, and we moved back to Montana in early fall, so it wasn't it wasn't hunting season yet in Arizona either, and so
You're like, I gotta wait till I'm 12?
now I had to wait another 2 years.
What kind of crap
I
is
was
this?
so pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I
they
was
didn't have the
so
apprentice
pissed.
program back
No.
then. So you had to be 12 years old.
Yep, I was so pissed.
Yeah.
I was not happy to move.
But you came from Phoenix.
We went from Bozeman to Phoenix, but I was 6 when we left Bozeman, so I guess
But
it
you
doesn't
didn't
really count.
Yeah, but you were down in the Phoenix area.
Yep.
But this up here is like, to me, I've been in Phoenix. I used to work in Phenix. This is paradise compared to Phoenix.
It
I guess when you're
is.
10, you're like, it doesn't matter as much, maybe.
Well, and so I give credit where credit is due. My family, my parents, gave us an incredible, experienced childhood. We spent a crap ton of time up in Flagstaff and Sedona,
Okay.
and so a lot of time in nature. We all like Lake Tahoe. We were always out doing something, and so I will give credit where credit is due. Again, my parents they gave us an incredible experience.
Outdoor lifestyle
outdoor
experience.
lifestyle travel.
And those are beautiful
experience.
areas.
That by the time I ended up leaving on my own at 17, kind of carving out my own life, we had done a lot of things that probably most kids my age at that time didn't ever, lots of trips to Mexico, missions trips to Mexico, trips to Florida, like family. My parents were not rich by any means, but I remember having to stay in a room while my parents went and did timeshare presentations, we took a badass trip to Orlando, and looking back now, I realize what it was. Like, they would disappear for 3 hours. Hey, you guys just chill out in the room. I mean, granted, at that point in time, I was probably 12, 13, so it's not, you're not leaving 6-year-old kids in a hotel room or whatever. But hey, hang out here. We're gonna go do this, and we'll be back. We had some badass experiences because they figured out how to do it on the cheap, right? Because we didn't have. I mean, we lived with these guys for 6 months, 6 to 9 months. And
our house was small,
tiny. I drive by that house often, and I'm like, oh man,
how did we
all lived in that house?
We fit 10 people in that house.
Oh man.
And
your sister still had, she got her own room.
Yeah, my sister never had to do. My sister had her own room the entire time.
Yeah,
the entire with one bathroom. That's what a lot of one bathroom.
One bathroom
for 10 of us.
people.
And
one bathroom.
it worked.
Yeah,
we
awesome.
made it work.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
But
we don't need to get into shenanigans that we did growing up.
No, huh?
No. No, we were pretty good.
That'll
There was a few times when you guys moved out north of town.
That'll be in the after hours
Yeah.
section, the paper behind a paywall.
Oh, that was probably already in the paper at some point if you just look it up.
Yeah, there might have been an incident with gasoline and trying to make rivers out of gasoline.
Holy mackerel!
Oh man,
Going on a horse ride with some friends. Well, it'll be 2 hours. We're like 9 hours later. People are looking for us, and we're just riding. I mean, trespassing probably occurred, but
Of course,
we were
innocent kids,
standard fare.
driving things.
Yeah, but I mean, we didn't do anything crazy.
No, that'd have been awesome.
Really.
I was in the desert chasing lizards at that age.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
But we ended up spending a lot of time together though, just because his mom ran. So the youth center is
Full freaking circle.
24 years old now. The youth center, I think, the Stillwater Youth Center, been around 24 years now. Joni Matovich was one of the founders of it. His mom, Janae, same thing, and she ran the youth center for years. It started out in a garage over on 5th.
Bee Gees.
Wow.
Yeah, Bee Gees. Bob Grimmett, great guy. Yeah. But yeah, so we were together all the time for that growing up, and then now my wife does the youth center. So yeah, big cool full circle. So I mean that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But
That's wild to all of a sudden, all of a sudden you're at the age and filling the roles that your parents did, and it's kind of wild.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we even talked about that at my brother's birthday last week. It's like, dude, all the kids are out here playing in the dark, chasing each other around, making sure we don't hear anybody splashing
Dude, we
in the
used
river.
to play, man. Right, exactly. And we used to play all that stuff around town.
Yeah.
Around town in the dark. I'm sorry to all of you people that we may have knocked on your door and left at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
But I mean, it's just the other way around, and I can imagine now, like our parents had to be pulling their hair out because we were doing the same. And we were sort of confined over to the Legion Hall there at Fireman's Point, but we're like, guys, we got to go, and the kids take off going the other way, And you can't get mad at them because we did the same thing, but so
Yeah, good times.
That's
This would have been a great place to grow up.
Oh, it was fun. Yeah, we did some old school hockey on the back channel.
Yep.
We used to flood the back channel and during the winter time.
Yeah, we played roller hockey on the parking lot for the old pavilion.
Yeah.
I remember doing that quite a bit. Played football at everybody's houses.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your kids now are getting the kind of the same experience, or has things changed around here at all?
Man, I think when we got the freaking cell phones and mini computers in our pockets, that's when shit changed.
Yeah, everywhere.
I mean, we used to have like the whole west end of town used to be bike trails,
Mm-hmm.
and we would spend. I mean, we would go on the summer. It'd be sun up to sundown. We'd be over there. We might go home to check in, but we'd be back over there. I mean, so we were gone 8, 10, 12 hours a day riding our bikes over there, and
yeah, I lived 5 miles out of town, and if I came into town, I had to ride my bike into town every day.
Wow.
I used to ride my bike into town to go to the. I was telling my boys the other day. I was like, man, I used to have to ride my bike into town to go to the city pool.
Yeah.
All the time.
And then ride home
And then ride home.
Yeah.
all uphill on the way home.
It's brutal on the way home.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So I don't think my kid. Well, Matt lives in Billings right now, so I can't attest to what Billings is like growing up. But like even my kids here, I mean, it's not the same. And I know our parents said the same thing. Well, it's not the same when we grew up, but it really isn't.
No.
I mean, I don't know if there's. You can still find things to do if you use your imagination a little bit, but I think we're just such a quick, self-gratifying society now that it's like, well, I can't get instant gratification from this. I'm just going to go sit on my phone. Or I can't get instant gratification. I have to go so far to go ride my bike, or I have to go down, ride my bike down to the river to go fishing, and I might not catch a fish. I'm just going to sit here and watch TV.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the same. But I mean, I wouldn't want
dopamine hits.
Yep. I wouldn't want to raise my kids anywhere else. I'm super thankful that my path led me back here, and I've got to raise my kids. I mean, Kimber graduates this year. My oldest graduates high school this year. So, but having the chance and opportunity to raise them here, I'm super blessed, and I don't take that for granted. There's not one day that I've ever taken for granted that I get to raise my family here. So,
I hear you're thinking. I don't know. Am I speaking out of turn? Are you?
It's a secret.
I'm not. Then I'm not talking. I didn't hear anything. I don't know what I just made up. I just made that up.
well,
I don't know what I just came up with nothing.
No, that's good.
Huh.
That's good.
Well,
It's not 100%.
this always comes
yet,
back
which is
to
why
it.
it's a secret.
Yeah. Seems to be a common thing we always come back to, though. Is we always end up talking like about how much we love this town, and then I'm always like, wait a minute, we don't want anybody else moving here. Like, it's terrible. And then we start coming up with all the things
awful.
like that train crossing with one road over the, it's
the railroad
terrible.
tracks.
But there's no elevators there anymore.
No.
That bummed me out bad.
Yeah.
That bummed me out.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Those
to
grain
see.
elevators leaving, they should have just left those up forever. I don't know why
Yeah.
they took those down.
I
I guess they're a liability, yada, yada.
I wish I would have been into photography when they were up, because I could have got some amazing photos of those.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, oh,
I know.
I remember when they were there.
Now you got to go to other little small
well,
towns to
Reed
go.
Point still has theirs.
Speaking of
Right.
remembering, today's a crazy day to be remembering.
Oh, yeah. It is. It's 9/11 today.
Isn't that wild that, like, I haven't thought about that once today. I feel bad, but
Yeah.
like
23 years ago.
Yeah.
I've been a little checked out all day. I guess
Yeah.
I haven't even been on my phone, or I'm sure people are posting things and everything else, but not being on there, I didn't even think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's
Where were
fun.
you?
Where was I? I was working. I was out just in between Columbus and Park City, around the curve from CNT. Is it CNT cattle feeders?
Yeah.
Right on the. Is it CNT?
Yeah.
Tom. Anyway,
Tom
Tom
Moore.
Moore.
Mhm.
Yep.
TNC.
TNC. Yep.
Yeah.
And just up the road from there, I was pouring a concrete foundation for a house.
You guys were already out there that morning. You were
Yep,
already at
we were
work.
already out there. We were working away. I was listening to the breakfast. We had the breakfast place on, and they were talking about it. And I was like, "Man, that's weird, because that's never happened in history. So why are they talking?" Because the breakfast flakes always talked about like things that has happened in history, and I was like, that's never happened before. So what's going on, and why are they talking about it? So we finished this pour out, and we go to my buddy's place, and we turn on the TV. Well, I mean, obviously throughout the course of that broadcast, listen to the radio, like we realized that this is something that happened that day, that morning. And I remember we got done with that pour. We were done for the day. Boss said, "Hey, you're done. We don't have any, go home. There's no other work today." And we went to my buddy's place. We turned on the TV, and the news was showing all the footage. I mean, footage that you don't see. Like, they don't show that shit these days.
No.
But all of the original footage of 9/11 that day, and it was just, I think we sat there for the next 4 to 5 hours and didn't move. We were glued to the TV, just watching what was happening. And now, that was a crazy day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Cole?
I was in Kaiserslautern, Germany, buying furniture for my little studio apartment that I had for when I was at Ramstein Air Base.
So was it like nighttime there?
No, it was morning or afternoon. What time was it? It was afternoon. And I go into this place to buy furniture, and went to the warehouse so I could tell them my address. And at that time, it was pretty easy to get on at military bases. They just have to sign a pass. They go in, they drop it off at my apartment complex, and then they move it upstairs to my apartment. So I go into the warehouse to give them my invoice slip so they can load it up and get it over there. And we're in the lobby of the warehouse watching the TV, and the German workers are like, I can't remember what they said, but they said it in German. Something about, this can't be real. It must be a Die Hard movie. Well,
wow.
So we get over there and I'm watching the TV and I'm like, holy shit, that's live. And it was the first plane had just hit the tower and they were running the news. And then the second plane came in when we were sitting in that warehouse watching. And we didn't have cell phones I didn't have a cell phone yet because
there wasn't
2001. It wasn't a big deal to have a cell phone. I knew when I had to get to work
you had
or
bag
whatever.
phones.
Yeah, and we had there was Nokia and Motorola flip phones then.
The brick.
And I was like, oh shit, this is really happening. I need to probably get on base. Well, Kaiserslautern to the gate at Ramstein is probably 8 miles. It took me like 4.5 hours to get back on base.
Packed.
Yeah. And then I didn't get off of base for like 6 days, probably didn't sleep for 5. And it was chaos because for the first 3 days there was supposed intel that they were going to start hitting military installations. And so we were on high alert and Air Force is pretty chill. Okay. You got to imagine an Air Force base is like a big, I don't know. It's just chill. It's not like an army post at all.
Right.
It's not like you have armed guards at every building or anything like that, or people running around with ARs or their M16s or whatever. It's none of that. Well, within like 6-7 hours of being on base, we had armed security at every building going in and out. You had to check in, check out. We all had to go. So I worked on the flight line, and it was like I'd never seen a military installation that locked down in my short time in the military at that point. And it was just insane. It was chaos. Just trying to sort through everything. And then, it was crazy. But I thought they were watching a Die Hard movie. Wow. One of the Die Hards. And I was like, oh, no, that's real. What about you?
I was in Phoenix. And I was driving truck. Actually, I'd woke up. I was at our main base. I used to work for Night Transportation, and they were in Buckeye, just outside.
Okay, yeah.
So I woke up that morning, and I think I had to. I woke up. I'd slept in the yard. I was rarely in Phoenix because I drove all over usually when I was with that company, I was mainly in the Western United States. But anyway, I got up. I was like, I got to get going. I think I had to go pick a load up or deliver a load. I can't remember. And so I was kind of groggy. I got going. I think so as you pull out of the parking lot of the main offices there's a security guard there. And I just had to show him like, hey, I've got to go run this. They're just checking that nobody's stealing something or whatever. I stop at the little security shack. It's usually just like wave you on through. So he's like, I'm like, hey, what's happening, man? Good morning, man. What's up? Or he's like, and then that was the guy who was like, a plane just flew into the World Trade Center in New York. I'm like, really? Like a little plane, like a little private plane or something? He was like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know, man. They're talking about it right now on like all the radio channels, and he's got a little radio in his little guard shack. I'm like, that's wild, man. That's weird. So I think I was driving. I thought, I wonder if there's something on the radio. So I flip on the radio, and then I'm trying to pick up what's going on. I'm listening to FM radio in Phoenix, so I'm trying to pick that up. And that's when I'm like, holy cow, something's like really going down here. And you're listening to it on the radio.
Station is probably broadcasting something.
Right. So I go pull into that place that I was going to go deliver or pick up. I can't remember what I was doing, but I go. And I run in and check in, and all the guys at the docks are all like listening to a radio, and they're all standing around there like nobody's wanting me to check in with my paperwork, and nobody's paying attention. I'm like, you guys listen to that? They're like, yeah. They're like, that's crazy, man. I wonder, like, and I said, you know what? I got a TV in my truck. They're like, you do? I'm like, I do. I can get local channels. It was like a little 13-inch TV VCR combo and just built into a cubby of a semi-truck. And there was like 4 guys. And I'm like, yeah, we could get in my truck. I can get the news. And they're like, oh, yeah, can we do that? I'm like, yeah, let's go see if I can get a channel. So I go running out there. All these guys go following me, and all these guys climb up in the back of my truck, and everybody's sitting on my bunk. And we're all sitting in the back of my truck watching the news. And I think when I had got there, I think the second plane had just hit or something. And they were just like, what? And that's when I said, and so we spent probably 45 minutes probably in the back of my truck all watching that. Anyway, that's where I was, in the back of the truck with a bunch of strangers watching that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Different
and then
time,
it was like,
different
okay,
world.
after that I got to go home, but like they shut down Hoover Dam, and that was the main way that I would get home because I lived in Las Vegas. And all of a sudden they shut Hoover Dam down, and we're like, wait, I got to go the long way around? You got to be kidding me.
Long way.
And then we had to go the long way around every time. Then for years they didn't reopen until they built a separate bridge. But that changed things big time.
Yeah.
And that was how many years now?
23 years ago.
23 years.
23.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I still remember how patriotic everybody, even stationed overseas, how like pro America the entire world was for a long time. And then you have the debate last night. So we're recording this on September 11th, obviously 2024. Last night was the debate. And I didn't even watch it.
You didn't?
No. I waited till this morning.
It was brutal.
I watched probably 90 minutes of it. I watched an hour and a half.
Yeah, you probably caught 2/3 of it then. It was It was rough. It was real rough.
From what I watched this morning, I watched 3 different podcasts and got 3 different takes on it, and I didn't miss anything.
No, you didn't miss a dang thing.
So
nothing was said. Nobody answered any questions.
Yeah. I did see where the big thing. I mean, they're not even talking about Trump and Kamala, but they're talking about how the moderators just pretty much ganged up on Trump, and so it's essentially
the fact check. The fact check. Yeah. Well, we checked that.
A 3-on-1.
There was a lot of that.
So
they didn't ever seem to like fact check her at all. They never stopped her
because
she
didn't say anything that needed fact checking.
I heard a lot that was off. Like, number one, the Charlottesville thing. She continued to say that lie. That's been debunked. He didn't say that.
Of his thing. Yeah.
Like things that...
You are correct.
The thing where she said also that he just trashes on men in uniform in the military, that he called them suckers and losers, which that has been debunked. He didn't say that. So they didn't stop her and fact check. Like, even on Snopes has debunked all of those things. So they don't stop them from saying the same lies. That stuff, I'm kind of like, that's just amazing to me. Like, I think what I would say if I was him, I would be like, you have access to some of the so-called best intelligence agencies, and you can't get the data on that. Like, you guys can't like get accurate data. No wonder, we don't know that there's no weapons of mass destruction.
It just plays into the media.
Yeah.
It's the whole media game.
Yeah.
Which is what it said. And I guess that's what I meant by she didn't say anything. Yes, she trumpeted some things that already have been debunked.
They keep saying the same things.
And the people, I guess the people that know better.
Yeah.
But she didn't say anything other than those things, I guess, is what I was meaning by that they didn't need to fact check her on. Like,
there was nothing new that
if you look at.
Right. I did think he made a really good point, though, and I don't mean to go all down this road. But she made this point of, and this is, I think it was right after this, I think, seems like that's where I had to check out. And that's because that's funny what we were doing last night. I'll tell you that in a sec. But she was just like, made this big point of like, hey, because of him, we had a bill. We had a comprehensive bipartisan bill to stop the border crossings, blah, 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 blah. She goes on and she's like, and he stopped that. He made a call to his buddies and they put a stop to that and blah, 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 blah. And he made a good point. He was pretty obnoxious about it, but he made a great point to her and to everybody. But they don't. And then they call him out on it. He gives the answer, which is the accurate explanation, and then they call him out on it for not answering the question. And it was wild to me because what he said was, he's like, listen, they don't need, like, they can go sign a piece of paper right now. She's like, she could leave here right now. She could go at 4 p.m, go wake her boss up, get him out of bed.
That was the other cool thing that I was like, where's he at?
And they actually could just sign a piece of paper and shut the border. They don't need a bill. They don't need an act of Congress. This is one of the things that they could actually legally do, that this is under their responsibility of protecting the country. They could sign a piece of paper right now. Has nothing to do with me. That's the short answer. The long answer is, well, yeah, that bill was actually going to allow up to 5,000 people per day illegally into the country. It was, I mean, there was a whole bunch of stuff. And he did point that out. He was like, there was a whole bunch of things in that bill that was not good. And, but he did make that point, and that's true. Like, you guys could just shut the border down. If you wanted to shut down,
100%.
You could just shut the border down.
Yep.
And, so then when he says that, they're like, but you didn't answer the question. Like, and I'm like, how did he not answer the question? Because they're like, why did you, lean on Mitch McConnell to shut this down? Why did you lean on them? Blah, blah. What are you going to say? How do you explain that? Anyway.
Because I was president and I don't have a vote.
So crazy. Anyway, so there's some things like that I just was like, I was like, you got to be kidding me. There was the big moment where did you see the big moment?
Probably.
Where he goes, because this was the thing. In the lead up to this thing, I'm talking too much about all this. I'll cut all this out. So the lead up that I was seeing was everybody was going to say, she's going to bait him. He's going to take the bait. And then she's going to look for that moment to show that she's a strong woman. And she's going to say, hey, I'm speaking. Don't speak over me. I'm talking now. Because she did that to Mike Pence. And I've seen all the compilations where she's just like, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Just asserting herself. And that was her big, strong moment, right? So everybody was just like, oh, man.
Waiting for
her to do it to Trump. And so he's talking about something. And she's just like, that's not true. That's not true. And he goes, excuse me, I'm speaking. He goes, I'm speaking. And then he goes, sound familiar?
Yes, I did see that.
Her face was just like, she was so mad. That was the best part, was watching her face.
Yeah.
Because she was just like,
oh, she had so many different expressions.
And his was just straightforward. Yeah. He didn't look at her one time. No, to me was what was the most interesting, is what was going on when the other person was talking. Like, what were they doing?
Yeah.
And they both come with their plan, their game plan, their strategy. They've been coached and coached.
I don't know that any strategy was thrown out. Oh, yes. Debate strategy.
Well,
yes.
You could tell that he had been coached and practiced. Do not react. Yeah. Do not react. He did pretty good.
He did until he didn't. And then I was like, oh God.
But compared to the debates in years past, where he was just firing shots left and right.
Yeah.
It's like he's just like so.
I do want to respond here.
He's not even looking at her, and the whole time she's looking at him. He didn't even look at her the whole time. It was that I found was interesting too. Yeah.
So he didn't. So he couldn't let her to get under his skin.
Yeah,
if he didn't look at her. He was to look at her.
But she did. She did get to him. She brought up the September 6th stuff or January 6th stuff, and he kind of went down a rabbit hole there for a while.
Yeah.
So from my perspective,
cats and dogs. My cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs. Yeah.
Oh, that was funny.
But he did good for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then she threw in her zinger, and it totally threw him off. And then his closing remarks about you've had 3.5 years to do all this stuff.
The closing remarks.
Why haven't you done it? He did good there. So I don't really know.
Yeah, I would agree. First 20 minutes and then the closing statements. In between was...
It got a little crazy in there.
It was a little rough.
The shitty thing is the expectations are so low.
There are none.
Yeah.
The expectations for a presidential debate in 2024 are so low. I mean, 20 years ago, that would have been...
Have you guys seen any of, Canada's? stuff, how they do stuff in Canada.
Yeah.
And then
in their parliament.
In parliament, and then in parliament in England and stuff like that. It's the same.
It's the same. Dude,
it is the same.
I watch it all the time.
Shit.
I actually watch it all the time.
It is funny.
But I like that one dude. There's that one. He's so sharp. But yeah, no, it's crazy.
Going against Trudeau, always talking shit about Trudeau.
Yes,
it's
yes.
so funny.
He is so sharp.
Yeah,
but their little
great.
rules are so funny to me. I'm just like, they must do the same thing. They look at us like, oh, those silly Americans. But when you watch their proceedings too, you're like, this is crazy. This is immature. Yeah. And the way they'll stand up and like, I don't know, the little back and forth. Yeah. I wish I had something right off the top. And I can picture some of those. I don't have I can't think of one right off the bat. But just when they'll be like, trying to force the other side to retract what they just said.
No. Yeah, and it's so funny.
Oh my god!
But it's the same. It's the same shit. It's the same circus and clown show.
I'll have to watch some of it. I haven't watched any of it.
Yeah, then you're like, you kind of feel better. You're like, oh, okay, we're not the only Jerry Springer show out there.
It's so true.
It's the same thing.
So true.
I don't know.
There was a few things too, though, that they kind of went after him on, because I actually went and I watched some other news, like actual, like what they call news stations and what they were saying. And they were bashing him for some things that he said that, they sound crazy in the debate when he's saying them, just because the way he says it. His presentation just comes off sounding a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah, I would
but
agree with
in
that.
essence, what he was saying was accurate. Like, the thing with the Virginia governor or West Virginia governor, I'd seen that clip before. And actually, I watched the Rubin Report. I watched his breakdown of it. And he showed the clip of the governor of West Virginia talking about what they do with babies that accidentally survive abortion and how we keep them comfortable until we decide, whether or not we're going to complete the abortion or not. And that's what Trump was trying to say. He's like, hey, it's not. That was the other thing. She kept trying to say he's trying to ban it all the way across. That's just not true. He's already put it back to the states. He's like, it's never coming back to. If I'm president, it's never coming.
Night.
What's that?
He even stated it last night. Like, here are the exceptions to the rule.
Right.
He said that right up front.
And she just says the opposite, that he believes this. And then she was trying to say that he's trying to ban it all the way across the board. And he's like, it's back to the states. Like, I don't want to ban. And that's where it should be. It's like, let the people figure that out for themselves, whatever.
Agreed.
And he just, so that's all he was saying about that. And then, but he comes off as crazy when he started to nail her on that. He's like, you should be asking her if she's okay with abortion up to like 7, 8, 9 months, blah, blah, blah. And she's over there shaking her head like, you're crazy. And everybody was acting like he's crazy, like that isn't happening. And he goes, no, it's happening. He goes, even the governor of West Virginia is saying how they're keeping the babies comfortable until they decide they're executing them. They're executing them.
Yep.
And it sounds crazy to people who haven't seen those clips, but I've seen that clip. I'd seen it a couple of years ago. And then anyway, what's his name from the Rubin Report? He pulled that clip, showed that these things are happening. They're happening in Minnesota. So Tim Walz's state, this is happening there. So anyway, so he points out things that they accuse him of being kooky, but it's actually accurate. So anyway, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a weird world, and
it's just his presentation.
I don't like either of our options, so that's where I stand on it.
I kind of feel this. I'll be honest. We don't normally get all into all this stuff, but I kind of feel like I was hoping years ago when Trump got in there, I was hoping that it would help everybody see that we don't want to have any president should have too much power. Like, maybe this will be good for everybody to see, like, this is why we have limited powers.
Yeah.
But people didn't realize that. They just went and, like, once their guy got in, they're okay. As long as, if they're okay if their guy goes and does stuff that's unconstitutional, as long as he's doing it to the other side. And it's like, I was hoping.
Well, and that's the thing. It's the other side, but it's the other wing to the same freaking bird.
Exactly.
You heard that analogy out there.
Yeah.
Because Trump didn't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Obama didn't get rid of the Patriot Act, which was the largest invasion of individual privacy in America.
Right.
Like, none of them get rid of these other individual, like, controversial things that happen. None of them get rid of that.
Right.
They don't. I mean, they kept. It was said last night. The Biden administration kept the tariffs that has made America billions of dollars that put in place. They never got rid of those.
No.
Right.
You know, Obama never got rid of the Patriot Act. You know, like, none of them get rid of.
He just expanded its powers.
Yeah, they just talk about, hey, we're going to repeal it, and never freaking do.
Right.
Ron Paul was our last savior. In my opinion.
I agree.
Maybe Jo Jorgensen, she might have been in there too.
I was a big Ron Paul guy.
But Ron Paul might have been our last.
No, I agree.
Our last knight in shining armor.
I guess how I look at Trump now, though, is they've done him so wrong out of office. It's almost like you can't let them get away with what they've done to him and going after him. Like, if he hadn't run for president, they wouldn't have brought up any of those cases after him. It's like everything they've done to him has set a precedence now. So if you don't correct that, it's like, where do we go from here now if some of those precedences don't get fixed?
I have a weird, and I don't know that. I don't know. You can edit it out if you want to or not.
We all get nervous about all this.
Was Trump's economy great? Did I personally, my business thrived under Trump's economy, 100%. COVID was a great thing for my company. I'm not saying it was a great thing for the world. It was a great thing for my company. It made the not just my company. It made the home service industry a lot of money. During COVID, which happened to be Trump's thing, or during Trump's tenure or presidency. Trump was a lifelong Democrat for a long time, and when he came to office, a lot of things have sped up. Conspiracy Theory Thursday. I know it's only Tuesday.
No, it's Wednesday.
It's Thursday.
Conspiracy.
No, it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. We don't know. None of us know what day of the week it is.
Conspiracy
You can't
theory.
trust what we're talking about anything.
Thursday/Wednesday. I have, and you can ask my wife. She will put this. I feel that Trump might be a freaking plant in there. Just because of the while I agree with a lot of the ideas, they have not historically been his stance, except for the last 8 years, 9 years, 10 years maybe. Historically, they have not been his stance. But it has sped up a lot of things, a lot of divide, a lot of polarization within the country, which then at a certain point in time leads to other violent acts, which then lead to martial law, which then lead to other things. And so I'm not saying that is it, and that's why I said I'm not being I mean, after
whatever. After last episode
like,
with JT, this is nothing.
This is nothing. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have a knock on my door.
Okay, all right, right on. But I'm like I agree with a lot of the things that he says. That's I do. I'm just not sold on the fact that he came to Jesus 10 years ago and decided to switch parties.
Well, I don't think Trump has really changed. I don't think it even really matters about parties. I'll tell you,
That's
if you
true.
go back and you look at some of the statements in a bunch of his interviews in the 80s and 90s, Trump is saying the exact same thing now that he has been saying in all those interviews. I think, and he stated that in that one debate with Hillary Clinton. He's like, yeah, I gave money to both parties. That's the game.
I gave party to you.
Yeah.
Your
He's
husband.
And he played the game as a businessman that you got to play. I I don't think that he's changed, though. When you look at what he said in all those interviews, his essence has not changed really at all. I think, though, I feel like the Democratic Party, though, has gone so far left that it's left people like him who were traditionally Democrats feeling more like they're a conservative almost. Like, I grew up in a really Republican and conservative household, but, like I find that I'm not with those traditional Republicans anymore. Those guys that are, because they are almost like the same thing as those Democrats. It's all the same thing.
They're the right side.
Yeah. Of the left.
The left side.
Yeah. They're all the same, even though they're so-called left and right. They're all passing the same stuff through. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I kind of look at it like under Obama. I kind of look at Trump as a reaction. The country was reacting to the division that started to happen under Obama. And I feel like there were so many things starting. I felt like that speeding up of things happened under Obama. And that's just my perspective and my viewpoint, is that the division started to really be sown during Obama. I was looking at, like Elon Musk posted, and I've seen this now several places, where they'll search out words and they'll figure out like, okay, how many times were these words used in media during these times? And all these, words that are now said all of the time, everything concerning racism or any type of all that kind of stuff in the whole racism type genre of everything.
Right.
And I'm talking discrimination, segregation, just the inequality, all those keywords. If you look at this chart, they can graph it that it's really low. And in 2010, at one time, it goes like this.
Yeah.
It spikes like they flipped a switch. Like, now we're going to start talking about this a lot. And so and when you think about it, in the 2000s and in the 1990s, there wasn't all this division nobody was talking about it all that much. Like, there wasn't all of this, everybody bagging on each other. There wasn't that much division. Yeah, there were some jerks that over here maybe, or there was whatever, but largely the country got along pretty dang good as far as what I could tell.
Yeah. And
it seems like since 2010, it really makes sense when you think about it. Like, when did people started getting really ugly and divisive? Anyway, if that chart is accurate, it seems accurate based on what I'm remembering. I'm like, holy cow, really, honestly, since then, everybody's gotten super sensitive. Everybody feels like they're picked on. Everybody's a victim of everything. And that was kind of happening under him.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I felt like Trump was a reaction. I felt like it was starting to swing so far that it's going to snap back. And so people started to vote for Trump as a reaction to how far the system was going. The fact that
Kanye,
and then I think once he got in, they were just like, he's an illegitimate president. I mean, I think everybody forgets that they said that he got into the election illegally.
In 2016.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So then they did the Russia thing for 3 years. So in some ways, he got in there, and I kind of feel like he was surprised that he was actually president. I think he was like, okay, I was running just because Obama got mouthy one day at the pulpit and made a joke about me. So I ran and I won, and now okay. And he got bad advice, and they left certain people in. He took advice, and they put the same old in the administration, which is why I think a lot of the stuff couldn't get changed, because he surrounded himself.
Which is why last night he was like, I fired a bunch of people from my administration because of that.
So what's different this time, though, could you see him bringing in a Tulsi Gabbard or an RFK Jr. in 2016? No, he brought in all of the rhinos, all of the same old admin people, as he was claiming he was going to go against the deep state. He just brought on all more deep state people. Mm-hmm. So now I'm thinking, maybe this time, who knows if he's going to be able to pull it off. But at least I felt like he was so bogged down in impeachments and Russia investigation stuff and all that stuff for so many years there that it would have been very hard to operate. I'm amazed that he even keeps pushing forward. Because what has he got to gain from this? Really nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And since then, that's my point. I don't really care about all the other stuff of what he did or didn't do. It's the precedents they have set. Now it's like, wait a minute, if you guys can
Where's
get
the
away
game?
with this, if you can raid a previous president's
where's the game
home,
at?
so that means going forward, are we going to just keep doing that to both sides? Like, how do you want that? Why do you want that to be a precedent set?
Mm-hmm.
If we allow this to happen to him,
Mm-hmm.
that's our future. That's our future of this dirty play. They're just throwing the rules right out, or any type of, I don't know. We didn't used to do this to each other.
No, I remember. So the Al Gore Bush, 2020 or 2000.
Yeah.
2000 election.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in my parking lot of my house out north of Columbus here, in my vehicle, waiting for the results. I think I sat there till 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and finally the announcer came on. Might as well, if you're waiting up for the results, you might as well go to sleep because they ain't coming anytime soon. But I remember specifically, and there was none of the cackle of what you see in 2016, 2020.
And that drug on for a long time, but eventually when they called it, they just called it, and that was still in the era, and it was like, whatever. And then all of a sudden,
that's when Al Gore finally called Bush and said, congratulations, I concede.
There's none of that.
Don't see that shit happening anymore.
That doesn't happen like that anymore. So that's what I'm worried about now. Yeah. It's just like if they can get away with this, it's going to be never ending on both parties pulling these shenanigans. And anyway, and then we end up in JT land.
Right.
So, which that's a podcast episode.
I'm excited. So is it out yet?
No,
it'll
be out in the next couple of days. I mean, that we got deep in that, and
well, by the time this one's out, that one have already come out.
Yeah, that'll be out in a couple of days.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm worried about. Is like I was hoping, because I was kind of thinking, like, back in the day, I was hoping that everybody was going to see like this reaction here that everyone's having. Like, let's all wake up about this. This is why we can't have presidents that are overstepping their bounds. Like the number of executive orders that Obama did, like it's like each president did a few more.
Yep.
Bill Clinton did a few more.
Yep.
George W.
Everybody's
he did a few more than him.
Yep.
But it was under Obama that those executive orders took off. That's what bothered me. And that when I thought, because he was saying, no, we're going to go in there, we're going to put an end to that, and we're going to whatever. And when people voted for him, I thought, good, this will be a good reaction. Everybody will see how crazy all this is. And we don't want him to have too much power, and we don't want any of them to have too much power. But instead of them doing that, all they've done is like, we're going to one-up him. And we're going to, I don't know. It's like they didn't learn from any of that. And it's just gotten crazier. And then now it's just like, it's gotten so crazy land that I'm afraid, like, if you don't correct that, we've got a really ugly precedent.
What does correcting it look like, though? Like at this stage in the game, because I feel like this ball has been set in motion, or whatever has been set in motion for a while.
Right. So take Trump, the person, out of it, okay? Which is hard to do. But if somebody could just step in and convince Trump, hey, you know what? Just throw in the towel. Don't run, okay? And let's say he backed down at this point, and they're like, good, he didn't run, and now we got what's her name going against so-and-so now, and now we don't have crazy Trump in there. But what didn't get corrected was the fact that all the shenanigans that they pulled, all the lawfare, all of those illegal cases that they took against him, all of the precedents set about all of that, all the shenanigans about J6 that they were able to pull off with that and blame and put on him when he's like, he pointed it out. I mean, he's like, hey, I tried to get the National Guard, Nancy Pelosi. They don't want to hear that from him. They don't want to hear that he was like, no, I tried to, they don't want to hear all that. They've already painted this picture now of what all that was.
Yep.
And so if you were to take him out of it, they will have been able to kind of set that into the history books, and they will be able to have been like, okay, they've kind of gotten away with it. If he's not put back in there, and hopefully he doesn't, that's the thing, is don't overcorrect now. That's the problem that we're going to be up against. Don't overcorrect. It's gone so far. There needs to be almost like a correction in the market, but we don't want to crash. We need a correction.
Yes.
So I this is just my dumb, some guy sitting in a storage unit perspective, is that there needs to be a proper correction without an overcorrection. But if we don't have a correction, it just means that it's going to go until there is a complete burst in the market or a burst in our society, in our country. Like
it'll be the same
what
thing
they've
that's
been able
going
to
on
do to
with our
him.
interest rates.
Yeah,
If
but
they
I don't.
correct it too much right now,
Right.
if they bring it down too much,
Right.
we're done for.
That's been the problem with everything. It's always an overreaction instead of a proper reaction to things.
Right.
And that's why things have been so volatile. I guess that's my issue with it. It's not so that I'm just like so pro-Trump, but I'm like, is this what we're going to start doing now to all of our ex-presidents? Like, we're going to start raiding their homes. We're going to start,
Apparently not, because it didn't happen to Biden, so it's only on one side.
That's the problem, is it's one-sided until somebody does get in there, though. And, I don't know. It's just gotten so out of whack.
Yeah. Once the shoe falls, it falls for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting times that we live in, though, for sure. It's exciting as much as it's like, we were talking on the phone. It's like, man, if shit really is going to hit the fan because of the political climate, where do we want to be?
Right
here. There's yeah. But at the same time, it's like, dude,
Yeah.
this is like an exciting
Right here.
Yeah. Well, right here. But it's an exciting time in history too, to be a witness of it. It's like I think about the fall of Rome, and when Rome fell. I mean, to be there, to experience the height of the Roman Empire.
Yep.
Where we're in charge and conquered 2/3 of the known world, to complete and utter destruction from the inside. I mean, their Senate and their political games destroyed, and the corruption destroyed this entire empire. But I mean, those people got to experience that firsthand.
Yeah.
And for some reason, some part of me is just like, that's super exciting to be a part of that time in history. And
I agree with you.
We're in this
100%.
time of history, and I mean, who knows where we're going to go from here? But
yes,
I mean, we get to witness it as it's happening.
I'm glad you said that. That's how I look at all this. I don't get too wrapped up in all that, whatever way it goes, at whatever. I look at it the exact same way. I look at it like, I've told my kids that are just like, oh man, everything's so gloomy and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no. You got to, someday people are going to be asking you, or be like, oh, you were around then. What was really going on? Like, this is a pivotal time. Right. This is, I get a little hesitant about people who are like, this is like 1774 right now. No.
Not even close.
No,
thank you. I don't want to partake in that.
This is
I may or may not have survived back then.
This is 1756. This is 1766. This is 1706. Like, it could be another 100 years before it really comes apart. Like, so I'm not one of those people who thinks like, oh, it's going to happen.
The doomsday is
nigh.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what I look at, is that era. Like, you're looking at that area. I look at that era of like, oh, okay, there was all this discomfort for 100 years leading up to what happened in 1776. So, or more. So,
and it was, but at that in 1776, it was the bankers, it was the farmers, it was the carpenters that reshaped and formed our country. And who's to say that's not going to happen again? Could be.
Well, we don't have any farmers, and we don't have any bankers. Well, we have plenty of bankers, but we don't have any farmers. We don't have any workers.
Yeah, and if we don't have Wi-Fi and YouTube to show us how to do it, then
we are done.
We are
doomed.
done.
My mistake. I misspoke. My mistake. But it's true. Damn it.
Oh man.
I don't know what it'll look like.
I don't know, man.
Who knows? I think the world's on a course that I don't think I think we're going to end up in a specific place that's predestined, and the intricacies of getting there is up to chance, but I think we're just on a ride.
Oh, I agree 100%. I do agree with you that the Trump years for business were better, 100% better. But I also believe it was kind of a false sense of security. Like,
absolutely.
so it was better, and it was 100 times better than it is right now, and the pinch everybody's feeling right now, and da. But I don't know that it was really as solid of a foundation. We had, how much trillions and trillions of dollars of debt, out of control spending still. It was all just kind of a nice little veneer over a big problem still. I do think, though, if he were to get back in there and let people start, drilling oil again and doing some other things, I do feel like there's some things that'll give us temporary easing, just that alone, like bringing down gas and diesel prices and letting the oil go again versus what happened on day one is they just shut down the pipelines and all the other things, and things just, when they could have been recovering, got more expensive. So, but I don't know. I'm kind of a fan of Peter Schiff, and if you listen to Peter Schiff, and he's kind of like a big time, like, I don't know what you'd call him. He's got a more of a libertarian viewpoint about financials and all that. He's a Ron Paul type of guy.
I would characterize myself as more of a libertarian. I'm fiscally conservative.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be spending money abroad.
Yeah, 100%.
Stop every payment going to Ukraine right now. 100%. But I'm very socially liberal.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we should be telling people what to do.
Yeah, no,
as a government.
100%.
And so I think that falls under the guise or the understanding or political spectrum of libertarianism.
Yeah.
Why is it that you think that they can't get more people to make that happen? Is it just the machine is?
I think the machine is too far.
Yeah. And I don't think you can have. You'll never have a three-party
system. You never have a
third-party system. It's going to take either more people like Ron Paul, RFK, Tulsi Gabbard to be like, you know what? I'm fed up with all the bullshit, and we're going to go here because they align more with these
followers.
Yes.
Followers.
There you go.
It's going to take who has some mass influence, and there are a few people in the world that scare the shit out of me, and one person in particular in the music industry has a lot of sway over world affairs. And
her?
Yeah, her.
Her? Happens to like the Kansas City Chiefs all of a sudden.
My mom brought her up today.
But that is where the sway is going to come from. Who can sway the masses through Instagram or whatever else is coming up? Because Instagram is probably going to be outdated by that time. But
too big to fail. Do you think they're too big to fail? I think they're
Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows?
It's
the with
Meta's backing.
Facebook is already the older generation's platform.
Yeah.
None of the new kids are using Facebook.
Nope.
And so Facebook is already outdated. I still use it.
I use it all the time. But it's a TikTok and Snapchat generation. Yep. That's what it is.
And then something down the line from there is going to take over TikTok and Snapchat. Snapchat is coming on. Snapchat's doing a really good job right now of the instant, like, hey, you can all be friends and you can share your stuff without sharing your life.
Yeah.
Snapchat's doing a really good job of that right now, which is very interesting.
Yeah. But I don't know. Can you get monetized on Snapchat? Do they have a monetization system or not?
I don't think so. No, which is why you don't have a bunch of influencers doing it. The only monetization going on there is what Snapchat was originally set up for.
Yeah.
Not what I use it for.
Better not be using it for. Yeah. No, I don't know. But I agree. I think it's going to take somebody that has that flair and that sway that can be like, hey, this isn't working anymore. We have to move this way. I mean, I would lean myself more libertarian than conservative, or, I mean, definitely not liberal. a Democrat at all. I mean, I'm fiscally conservative. I think, and I'm not an isolationist, but we don't need to be sticking our nose in every other country's problems. We're not the world babysitter. We should have never been.
Nope.
We have a lot of stuff that we need to take care of here on our own, and that's what the federal government should be for. But then it should all be up to states. Federal government should have a very limited role in how we run our lives.
Protect our borders.
Protect our borders.
Secure national interests.
That's right. Outside of that, it should be individual and state rights.
See, I find the term isolationist was just a negative connotation they gave to people who were non-interventionists, because the country was meant and set out to be non-interventionist.
Right.
You
But
see
it was,
that in
but
World
it was
War
all
I and II.
all those
Yep.
who wanted to get involved in all the other things started to accuse those people of being isolationists. There's a big difference.
Well, and when one party decided, look how much money we can make. Look how much money we can make from being the world babysitter.
Mm-hmm.
So then they were using negative words.
Where do you think that we got way off track from where I would have taken this?
We were going to talk
conversation.
about alpha overhead door.
Yeah, but I was going to get to that for sure. We are. But where would you, when you said one party, where do you feel like that really started, in your opinion?
In my opinion,
Because I have an opinion on that as well.
Reconstruction during
The
Civil War.
war machine.
I think
The war machine.
Oh, I think,
sure.
But I think the whole mindset started to happen on the quote unquote Republican side once Reconstruction took place after the Civil War.
There's a lot of money and bullets and guns and gunpowder.
Right. And even more money when they started rebuilding the South.
Yeah.
But that, I agree with you. I think they recognized some things there, but that was still, everything was all in-house there. But we didn't really get out of our borders till.
Well, we had the French going on. And the English
so I think,
still at that point
I think we're
in time,
talking
even in the Civil War.
We might be talking about two different things.
Well, I'm talking about, when did we go from, as a country, being non-interventionist to now we go get in everybody's business?
Yeah, we were on two different wavelengths there. I was not even not into that mindset.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So where do you think then, because when did we make that break, in your opinion?
World War II. I think our intentions, World War I. I mean, we really didn't have
World War I.
We didn't want to get into one.
Yeah, we didn't want to get into one. And we really didn't have a reason, quote unquote. But once we did, I think the war machine decided, hey, look how much money we can start making.
Yeah.
You know, what if we stick our nose over here and let's just keep an eye on this guy named Adolf.
Let's liberate this place.
Yeah.
And then rebuild it.
See, I would say that started with Teddy Roosevelt.
Think so?
Getting involved in Cuba.
Cuba.
The Philippines.
The Bay of Pigs.
Like, really, in like the 1890s, how did we find ourselves sending warships and Marines to invade the Philippines?
Yeah.
Like,
like
that, I think is when we.
But when he said the Conservative or Republican Party is where it kind of started and bred from.
That would have been Teddy.
Yeah, it would have been.
I mean, when you think about that part of it, I mean, he kind of cracked the seal, I feel, as far as like outside our borders.
Right.
But don't get me wrong, we could go back to us invading Mexico, because we invaded Mexico way before that. There was the Mexican-American War in the 1840s, 50s. We invade Mexico. We take California from them. We dipped into it there. And that's when I feel like, okay, we started to get a taste for empire.
Building.
Yeah, it's really hard to say.
Manifest destiny.
Yeah, when was the real line there? I don't know. But I do feel like, I feel like Teddy Roosevelt took it like more to the next level. We're starting to
it was next level with the White Fleet.
Yeah, just
where we sailed our fleet around the whole world, but saying, "Hey, here we are."
Yeah. I feel like that's a lot of that, and I agree with you. World War I, there were those still trying to say, "Hey, we do not want to get involved in this." They used to read George Washington's speech at the beginning of every new Congress that got elected and came in. They would read his speech about don't get involved in Europe. And they quit doing that. I think in the 19-teens, they quit reading that speech at the beginning of every new Congress that came in. But it was George Washington's admonition saying, stay out of Europe's affairs. Don't get involved in their drama. And
And here we are.
And so then you got World War One. Anyway, all of that stuff. So
Yep.
I agree with you. I think we shouldn't get involved in all that kind of stuff. We'd be able to pay for. We'd have some clean streets and some nice roads, and we'd have
And actually affordable healthcare.
Yeah, we have a lot of affordable everything. But so I do want to learn this though. So how did Alpha, like, it's a family business?
Yes. So it started out as I own it outright. I bought
who
it.
Started?
My dad.
Okay.
My dad did.
And then did you guys start it up here? Or did you start it down in somewhere else?
No. So when my dad was a general contractor forever. When we lived in Bozeman, did a lot of work for the state, kind of way back in the day. Moved to Arizona, moved back up here, going through some random jobs. Didn't
He's still general contracted though, because he general contact my parents' house.
He did, yes,
out on Northridge, and then you guys had the where Apple Village is, you had that big building.
Yeah, we had
place.
The Valley Construction Supply.
Yep.
Which we started building pole barns, or he started building pole barns out of, and then installing his own garage doors. Mid-'90s, building market took a crash. Valley Construction Supply closed down, kept with garage doors, and went into partnership with a couple people out of Billings. Didn't work out ever, and in 2006 him and my mom incorporated Alpha Overhead Door. I came back in 2010. They gave me an ownership stake, minority ownership stake. I very quickly earned that. It was a gift. It was a gift originally, but it was very quickly a burden. I guess you could say. But no, I'm very happy for the experience that I've had over the last 14 years. When I came home, 2010, I came home. They gifted me ownership, and then in the end of 2021. So December 31st, we made it final of 2021. January 1st, 2022, I was 100% owner of the company. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Are you hoping that, are you thinking, I mean, I know it's way down the line here, but are you thinking hopefully like this is something that stays in the family, your kids can...
I hope so. I'm building it to sell just because why not?
Yeah, build it to have value.
Yeah, build it to have value, and that way if it does become a legacy company for my kids, it's worth that much more.
Right.
So I'm building it to sell. January of 23, I opened up Butte, and that's been kicking off really well. I put a lot of time in there, my own time and energy into that. I have an incredible crew here, home base Billings, amazing. So without them, I wouldn't have been able to take on Butte. I said we're taking on Butte, and so we opened it up in 4 months. We made it happen in 4 months.
Wow.
I was the boots on the ground, so 3 weeks out of the month I was in Butte, which didn't bode well for family life.
All right.
Early on, and so
it's exciting though.
It was exciting, and it was something that I'm very thankful for Alicia, my wife, and being able to have the conversations of, hey, look, and this was when I brought on my general manager, Jonathan. He's been with me for almost 7 years now. A couple years into that, I talked to Alicia and said, hey, I need to put my head down for like 5 years. I'm not gonna like shirk my responsibilities at home, but I'm not gonna add to my responsibilities at home either. I need you to help me out here. And for 5 years, I need to put my head down, and I feel like after that, I'm gonna be will be good. And so we're drawing close to the end of that 5 years. And I've got some time left to put in on a few different projects. But right now I'm working on writing myself out of the company in the operational sense. Not on the growth side of things, the risk management, the things that the owner should be, but the operational side of things. I'm working on writing myself out of that. And we just hired 3 people. So we brought on a branch manager for Butte in July of this year, and so in July, within the first 2 weeks of July, I added over $250,000 to my payroll with 3 people, but those 3 people have turned out to be what I needed to be able to write myself out of the operational side
having
of
the
things.
right people in place.
And so it's been a long, arduous journey, but it's been a really good one. I've learned a lot of things, and I've learned a lot of things the hard way because that's how I tend to learn.
What do you think was one of your hardest lessons through this process? What do you think was one of the things that was one of your biggest or one of your hardest lessons to come to terms with?
I guess the hardest lesson, maybe not the hardest, but the one that I wish I would have learned earlier. Yeah. Like all the signs were there for me to learn it earlier, but I didn't grasp it. I didn't grasp onto it. Was learn, trust the people that you've put, trust the people that you've put in place to manage. Trust the people. Let's see, how do I want to put this? Trust the people that you've hired to do a job that are better at doing that job better than you.
Yeah.
Trust them how to do it, and just let them go.
Letting go of
let it go.
Yeah.
Which is funny because that's what I wish my parents would have learned. So, it's one of those things that because I went to school to be a history teacher. That's what I graduated with, and that's what I wanted to do. And in the middle of a recession, in 2008, 9, 10, nobody wanted to hire a history teacher. So
which now they can't.
Now they can't find teachers. And so I came home, and that's what happened. And for a long time, I struggled to be like, hey, you gave me this responsibility. Just let me roll. Let me go. Let me show you. Let me spread my wings, right? Let me spread my wings. And so I guess that's the biggest thing I wish I would have learned earlier. And allowed to happen earlier, because I knew I had the right people. I knew I had the right person, the one person that I needed to hire to make things happen. I hired him, and I wish I would have learned to trust that earlier, because who knows where we'd be now had I done that.
Yeah. But you know it now.
We're in it now. Yeah. So that's a good place now.
So are you primarily commercial, or do you guys still do residential?
Yeah, so I always have a hard time describing what we do. It's easy when I talk outside of the industry. So we're a garage door company. We do 60 to 65% is commercial. We do everything. Anything that opens and closes vertically, we can do it. And so that's easy to describe. But as I get into the industry and I'm finding out more and more things of how to run a good business and how to make things grow at a scalable rate, or even a blitz scalable rate, it's not so easy to describe, or do I want to describe it that way? So we are
because then you categorize yourself.
Yeah, right. And so the way I would describe ourselves now is we are a commercial company that dabbles in home service and residential work. So which we are now focusing more on, like we're taking more of our time, more of our energy, more of our resources into that home service industry, which I think is lacking in our area a lot. And so I think the reason why we're a big commercial company is because I love the commercial side of things. Like, I love standing back and looking at, a 60 by 30 hangar door that we just put in and be like, that's badass. Like, look at that. We did that. You're right.
Yeah.
That's a big ego trip.
Right.
There's not a big ego trip with changing some springs on a residential door, but economically it works well for our company, and it works well for the people that I brought on and want to take care of, because that's important to me. I mean, ultimately I'm in business to make money, but my number one goal is to enrich the lives of my employees and their family. That's my number one value.
Yeah.
My number two value is to provide a product and service at a rate that supports number one. I'm not the cheapest guy out there. I don't want to be the cheapest guy out there, because if I'm the cheapest guy out there, I can't provide full benefits for my employees.
Yeah.
And then the third value that I hold is I want to be a good steward company. So I want to give back to the community in which I operate. And for me, like anybody knows, in my company, if you have a kid that wants sponsored in their school or not, in their sports area things, t-ball, baseball, soccer, football, whatever, you have them walk into my office and they will get money.
Yeah.
So just
awesome.
letting anybody know.
Yeah.
But
that's awesome.
But I love that. Like, I had my son's best friend's sister came in and presented me for she's in ballet, and she's in a big dance troupe, and she came in and did a whole presentation. She was the second person since I've been like dedicated to helping kids with sports and programs and things like that to come into my office and give me a presentation. That's what I want to see. I don't want to be emailed a form asking for a donation. Like, I will donate to that if I know the person, right? If I don't know the person, probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
If I don't know you, come into my office, introduce yourself, tell me why you want my money, and I'll probably give it to you.
Yeah.
Don't tell my accounting manager I told you that. But yeah, man, kids is where it's at for me. Like, helping them out in sports, helping them out in things. Last year we had the pleasure. I loved it. I love dealing with kids in classrooms and teachers coming from the teacher background. At the end of the school year, kids, like, parents are always getting emails from their teachers in the younger age, probably up to third grade or whatever. Hey, we're running out of snacks, right? You get snacks at school. And we had the pleasure, 3 of my staff came in and said, hey, we're getting emails from the teachers. Is there something that you think of that Alpha could do? And I was like, well, hell yeah, let's do this. So we went on about 5 pallets worth of goldfish, and we delivered them. We took a Friday morning and we delivered them to 10 different schools in SD2 and Lockwood, and it was so much fun. I asked them, they were like, can you guys just bring them into our office and drop them off? I said, no, I want kids to help me bring them out of my truck so that I can interact. We can interact. I want my staff, the people that I'm bringing, to be able to interact with the people that they are helping.
Yeah,
you know,
and don't want it to be so
right.
transactional.
Exactly. Like I don't want to just bring stuff into your office and drop it off. No, I don't. I want to see the teacher. I want to see the kids. I want my people to see the kids. And so it was a fun time. I'm fortunate to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that's good. That's, like you said, being a good steward. Your company and you being a good steward. And that's teaching. I mean, that's a teaching moment right there. Yeah. For not only your staff, but for those kids. Here they had a need that was graciously filled by you. They're getting to see that, and your staff is getting to see, this is why we run our company this way. This is why Alpha does what they do, so we can do this kind of thing. And I think that makes your employees even that more gracious, that they're like, man, I want to give 110% for Matt every time, because this is the unwritten rewards that we're getting working at Alpha.
Yeah, and I hope that's the impact that I leave. That's what I want anyway. Yeah. Whether it is or it isn't, that's my goal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember just like playing Little League, and like you'd always go play, and we always had like some Bob's Plumbing was like, we were the Bob's Plumbing Pirates or whatever it would have been, but. I just, I don't know, it makes me think of those experiences that when you're a kid and you get your jerseys and you're all excited, but getting those sponsors by those small businesses that are helping those things happen, building memories for these kids, being a part of that, it does make it more worthwhile.
This last year, so I sponsored my kid, he's in, what is it, minors now, I think?
Yeah.
9-10
minors?
Yeah, 9-10 minors. And he, I go to practice. I sponsor him. They actually had Lockwood makes some really badass jerseys. And so it was really cool to see my logo on those jerseys. But before those jerseys even came out, they went to practice. It was like a field cleanup or something like that. And then they practiced afterwards. And so they were all in a huddle. And they were talking about, right after we clean the field up, and they were all in a huddle, and I was just kind of standing a little bit outside the field, and they're like, yeah, we're Team Alpha this year. And this kid looks up, and this kid was he was the kid that when he'd come off the bench going up to bat, he'd be like looking at the crowd like, come on, let's go. And so just working.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, exactly. And he looked at me because I was wearing one of my work shirts, my T-shirts that had Alpha overhead door on it, and then I'm wearing like cap with my logo and stuff on it, and he goes, he's already got merch. How does he already have merch for our team? It was the coolest. It was so much fun.
Merch.
He's like, he's got our merch. How's he got our merch already? Are we getting that merch?
Are we already that big?
Our
merch is already hit out there.
Cool. That was great.
That's so fun.
I hope we went to an Outlaws game and got to see like the towels or
that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I love that stuff.
He kind of likes indoor football.
I do like indoor football.
Hey, it's a blast. I've been to a couple of games. Those are a lot of fun.
They are.
Yeah, they are.
I'm looking forward to this upcoming season.
Him too. They got two new teams, new franchises.
They broke it. So they broke it down to 8 teams, and then they just brought in two franchises that are international. I think one of them is at least from Canada. The other one, I know they were trying to get a Mexico team into it.
Yeah.
Too. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was cool. Matt invited us we went to 2 games?
I think so, yeah.
2 games and got to sit with Alpha. It was pretty fun. They're fun. I enjoy indoor football. Yeah. It's still football.
Yeah.
It is still football.
No politics. They're not making a bunch of money. They're playing football because they like football.
Right. I think they make like $250 a game, maybe.
Yeah. Wow.
It's kind of like the same reason I love going to Billings Mustangs games. I mean, I think we went to 15 home games this year.
Did you?
I've never been to one. Every year I'm like, we're going to go to a bunch of those games. I've never been we've never gone.
I mean, they're playing baseball because they love baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, I think 2 guys from the Billings Mustangs Pioneer League, one got called up to the White Sox organization and one went somewhere else. But I mean, for the most part, this is as far as they're going to go, and they play ball because they love to play ball. And
That's
I
cool.
mean, just kind of like you get that same vibe you get at Outlaw games. They're there to play because they love the sport.
When does the outlaw season start up?
They're spring ball, so they're the opposite of the NFL. Just so there's more football going on. So,
Yeah. So it'll probably be March.
February, March is when they typically start their operations going.
Yeah. I went to a game. It wasn't that long ago. Gosh, it was a lot of fun though. I think it was like a year and a half ago, maybe, or I'm not sure where I'm at in the year right now. It was I don't know why, but like working, it just seems like time flies.
It does fly. I can't believe it's September
why is
already.
The bank closed? And and they're like, because it's a holiday, everybody's off. I'm like, what do you mean it's a holiday? What holiday?
Labor
I don't
Day.
even know.
What?
You know what I mean? Like that's how I was running. I was just like, what do you mean it's a holiday? Yeah. So, but I say, it was not that long ago. It was probably like 4 years ago, but it's just like flies by. It wasn't that long ago.
It does.
Well, let's see. They've had the team back for 2 years. Then there was a break, I think.
Well, yeah. So this last season was season 3
in the AFL. Well,
this is
IFL.
season 1 with the the AFL. They were with the IFL and the CIF before that, and the ownership group that brought him back beforehand was terrible.
I know, and they got your hopes up because they were going to bring hockey.
I was so freaking bummed. Terrible. They were like, you can donate, or you can with this money, with a little extra, you can support hockey too. And I was like, well, wait a second, how's that going to work?
Right.
Anyway, like I had my flags up to begin with, but I still went along because I just wanted the Outlaw. Like I've been an Outlaws fan for as long as they've been Outlaws.
And you've been a pretty major sponsor for the Outlaws organization for a long time.
Since I've had the ability to. So, and so I was like, all right, let's do this thing. But they were terrible. And then Steven Titus came in, took over halfway through. He was also the owner of the Gillette Mustangs.
Right.
And incredible job. He's an incredible owner. Like he did for the city of Billings with that organization really, really well. And so then he ended up selling off the Gillette team, and I think they ended up closing. I don't know if they're even a thing yet or still, but and then put all his focus into Billings this last year, which they brought home the championship. Yeah. So,
that's exciting.
There was a game that somebody left at just before the end because they thought the game was over.
I was so pissed.
Were you out in the parking lot when I texted you that they just won?
I was just barely leaving. Like I had to go to Columbus. I had to come out here to see my parents. Well, what was it for? We were. Probably a fireworks thing.
It was the fireworks
It was the fireworks thing that my parents were doing. And I was like, okay, we just got to get out there. And they were like 50 seconds left. They were down, 11?
They were down 11 points.
They were down 11 points with 50 seconds left, or 55, or it was under a minute. And Cole, he sends me a text. He's like, dude, they just won. And I was like, nah, you're bullshit. I was like, don't be effing with me.
Nope.
And
that's crazy.
Oh, dude, I was so pissed that I left. Oh, I was so pissed. I was so mad. I was so pissed the rest of that night. Like I came out here, I got out to this whole thing, and I was steaming. Like, oh, I had to come out here for that. I missed that. But it was my choice. I left.
Yeah.
I could have stayed, but I didn't. It was my choice. But I was pissed. I was pissed at myself for it.
No.
How many employees is Alpha up to now?
Right now we are at 20. We've been as high as 25. We've had right now we're in the process of trying to build our technician side of the workforce. We've got some incredibly solid guys, and we just had 2 more start on Monday of this week. That are one of them's got a lot of experience that we're really excited about, and another kid, he is a kid, just started. No experience, but real bright.
What's been your experience then through COVID? Did you see any shift in like just general? I don't know. It seemed like everybody was looking for people, hard to keep people. Everybody was struggling in that. And what was your experience through all that? What's that kind of been like?
So at the beginning of COVID, we didn't know what was going on, and so actually one of the guys that works for me now, we were in conversations a few months before March of 2020.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
2020, March
Right.
of 2020. Yeah. We had been in conversations, and he was going to move up in the spring. And we had just went to our industry expo down in Salt Lake, which I'm glad they're never going to do it in Salt Lake again. It was terrible. It was the worst ever. I'm just trying to pull out all the Trump.
Yeah.
They'll never have another one like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was awful. But
can you do a pretty good Trump impression? I think
no,
your voice.
I can't do.
I was hoping.
I can't. I don't, man. Every once in a while, I can pull out a good impression, but I haven't tried. I haven't even tried to do.
It's the worst ever.
It's so huge. That's about all I got. So we came back. We came back from Salt Lake, and it was immediate. We got back on a Friday from Salt Lake, and the next week, the world shut down. And I called this guy that I'd been working on for 9 years to come over and start working with me. And I'm going, dude, can we pause this? Because I have no idea what's going to happen.
Happening? Yeah. The NBA just shut down.
Yeah, NBA shut down. The world shut down.
Yeah.
We couldn't fly. I mean, you couldn't fly anywhere. You couldn't
just got crazy.
You could not do anything at that point in time in March and April of 2020. You couldn't do a thing except for the Blue Cat out in Nutley. The Blue Cat, man. Sidebar.
What's the Blue Cat?
I'm sidebar. It's this great bar and grill out there in Huntley that I sat there one day, and I think I've got the video somewhere because this is when Bullock was still in office, and they've got a scrolling sign, and every other restaurant in Billings was closed down. Half their tables were closed.
Yeah.
They had to close at 9 or something like that. They couldn't be open.
COVID came out at 9:01.
Yeah, because they couldn't stay open past a certain time. And the Blue Cat, that place was rocking. Every night, this place was freaking packed. And the scrolling sign was "Screw you, Bullock. We're gonna do what we want. You can't tell us we're not gonna do what we want to do." And anyway, so the place was closed down except for the Blue Cat. Blue Cat's great. I love going to the Blue
awesome.
Cat. They got really good bar and grill food plugged to the Blue Cat out there in Huntley. So anyway,
now I gotta try it.
Dude, there's so much. It's so much fun. It's Friday night. They've got live music and stuff out there. So anyway, they don't pay me, by the way.
They should. They will soon.
Yeah.
So the world closed down. I'm putting employees coming in on hold, people that I want in with a crazy ton of experience. I'm saying, hold off. We were planning on actually moving to Helena in April of 2020 for a branch, and we put that on hold because we didn't know what was going to happen. And so business slowed, following the trend of everything else, business slowed for about 3 to 4 weeks, and it slowed down. And so I furloughed some people. I didn't lay them off. I furloughed them and said, "Hey, here's the date that I'm bringing you back. If you find another job, amazing. But right now I can't. I don't have the work to keep you on." So I furloughed 4 people. Of those 4 people, I brought 2 people back on. The other 2 found jobs during that time frame, 6-week time frame. And then we blew up. Our sales were friggin' insane. And anybody in the home service industry that wasn't blowing up at that point in time was doing it wrong.
Because
way wrong.
Because
everybody was
they
in.
were like, well, I might as well take care of these projects.
Everybody was in their home. Nobody was going anywhere. And so then they realized that, oh shit, my AC may not be working as good as it should, or my heat isn't working as good as it should be. My garage door is louder than I want it to be. This is kind of ugly when I pull up to the house. Maybe I should change my door out. The government was printing free money at that point in time, both in the PPP, the other loans that they were offering small businesses, and then the $1,200 to $1,500 a person that they were sending families. Throughout the course of the time. So there was a ton of money floating around, and so if you were in the home service industry, construction industry, and you weren't doing well, you didn't have good times, you must have been doing something wrong. Because I don't feel that we did anything other than what we were doing. We didn't do anything special. We offered we know that people are conscientious. We're a conscientious company, or we'd like to say we are, that, hey, if you don't want to meet your technician, we can do it.
Yeah.
Right. If you want him to wear a mask to talk with you in your garage, we'll do it. But while he's working, he's not wearing a mask. We did we pointed that out to people. While they're working, I'm not having people wear masks while exerting physical energy. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. 100%.
Your brain likes oxygen. So
crazy. Crazy.
So
concept.
we did things to help with that. We carried extra bottles of friggin' sanitizer and things like that, but we grew fairly tremendously. And then, now you've got all these friggin' tax people calling you up and saying, hey, you could be eligible for that $2,600. No, I'm not eligible. I didn't have any decrease in sales at any point in time during 2020 or 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But do you find it now where so many people decided they could work remote or work from home, that is it hard to find good employees?
Is it hard? That's what I'm wondering is did the work ethic change between
I think
before that to now?
So the work ethic in my opinion, has been on the decline for a long time, since before you and I were in the workforce. We were in the workforce. Sorry, I'll include you.
Yeah.
So that has been, I think that's been a product of probably the 60s and 70s, early 80s. In the decrease in the work ethic. I have other opinions that I don't know that I really want to put out there at the given state and time.
Right.
But there and the town that I'm in, that have caused the labor world to kind of upend. This definitely within the last 5 to 10 years has been the number one, I would say, killer in the ambition of the workforce. You can get famous with that thing right there. One video. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at the Hawk to a girl.
Oh yeah.
She's created a whole career.
Yeah.
Right. From an interview. From a 30-second soundbite.
Yeah.
This girl is set for life. And people think, kids nowadays think that is their ticket. And so America is going to find very quickly that they're lacking in a labor force that is skillful enough to build homes, that is skillful enough to make your burgers. Well, I mean, it's automated now, so it doesn't matter anyway. But we don't have a skilled labor force.
Yeah.
And so the people that we're looking for Man, I'm looking for homeschool kids that don't want to grow up on the farm, that don't want to go back to the farm. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm like
people who are hands-on.
Yep. Man, I got a kid. He's been with me. He just turned 18. He's been with me. He hired on with me at 17. He's a freaking rock star, man. He's hungry. Yeah. And those are the type of, no experience, but I don't need experience.
Yeah.
I need somebody willing to work.
Yeah.
I don't need experience. I just want somebody willing to work, and I'll teach you what you need to know.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing how, everybody, I don't know, and all the trades are just like, if you are, my son was talking about it. He's bought a house. He was just like, gosh, I can't get a plumber out here. I can't get an electrician out here. I can't get anybody to show up. People don't return calls. And I'm like, that's because they're not hungry. I said, they don't need to rush out to your place anymore. He's like, I'm like, they got all they need. Like,
well, and I think it's a mindset change too, as to what people want.
Right.
And how they want their life to work, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I agree and want to give my employees a valuable work-life balance.
Yeah.
And I think that term or that phrase it's a cop-out for a lot of people and a lot of situations, but I really do want to have people that have an incredible life. And I firmly believe that you will not be successful until you figure out what you want your life to look like. And then you bring your occupation, you bring your work life, you bring everything else up underneath to support that. If you don't figure out what you want your life to look like, how can you have a work-life balance if you don't know what you want your life to look like? Yes, I want to be I am married. I have a wife. I have kids that I need to take care of. That's that's not changing. I mean, it's not my personality, but I could cop out on that. There are plenty of people who do in today's world and yesteryear's worlds. It's been happening for as long as humanity has been on the planet. But if you want a certain aspect, if you want a certain life, you have to picture that and you have to work backwards. Okay, then how do I make breakfast burritos support that? How do I make a podcast support that? How do I make Alpha Overhead Door support what I want my life to look like? The important things for me are my family and travel. Like, I want to travel. I want to travel the world. I want to experience. I don't want to have nice things. And I'm so thankful that I married a woman that is also that way, because I would much rather give my kids experiences than I would things.
Yeah.
I don't have, I drive like my truck out there is the next work truck up. So when I need another work truck, that truck sitting outside gets a friggin' utility box and a rack put on and a wrap on it, and it goes to the next technician that needs it. And then it just, the next one comes in, but it's a work truck. It's not anything special. I'm not rolling around in leather seats and friggin' a huge backup mirror or whatever those things are in the middle of your trucks nowadays. I want experiences more than I want things, and so that's what's important to me. So how can I make Alpha Overhead Door do that for me? But not me being at the top. I also then, not only do I have to say, okay, how do I make Alpha work for my life? How do I make Alpha work for all of my employees' life?
Yeah.
That's the important. I don't have to just dream big enough for me. I have to dream big enough for everybody else's dream to fit inside of my dream. And so I think that's what's important. And I'm probably not, like, it sounds really good, and I really hope that I live that out. And I hope that at some point in time, one of my employees comes back and says, thank you for dreaming big enough that my dreams can be that. 'Cause I'm just kind of getting started in that realm too.
Yeah.
But like, that is quintessential life for me. I don't need nice things. I want experiences. So
I think there's got to be. I think there's a general shift heading that direction. I think a lot of people are seeing it like that too. I think that's the other swing or the other reaction to kind of how life has been going. I think everybody got really materialistic, but I see that people in all kinds of workspaces now are starting to be like, I'm a doctor. I could be making a ton of money, but I also want to be able to go have time to go do this or go do that. I think a lot of people are shifting that because we saw our parents
work their asses off all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember my parents going on vacations growing up.
Yeah.
With just the two of them. Like, and I remember, like, we went camping. And that was what we did. We went camping, we went backpacking, we went hiking. I loved that. And I think part of that was due to the fact that they worked their asses off.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have that opportunity to dream that big just from that time frame. And I mean, I'm blessed every day that I was raised the way I was, and I have that love.
I agree.
But I'm the same exact way. I mean, my family comes first, and then we don't need the nice things. We want to travel. I want to take my kids to this place. I want to take them there. I want them to experience spending 3 weeks in a grass hut on the beach. You know, not on a tourist side, but on the countryside where you're not, you know,
where you get the best food.
Where you get the best food. And you get the best experiences. Like when we one of the places we went, where were we? Mexico? No. Yeah, we were in Mexico, and we were supposed to we went to this little village and just spent the whole day there. We ended up eating lunch in some chick's kitchen. She had like a little table out in front of her house. And this was her restaurant, and it was not a restaurant. It was her house.
That's awesome.
And we ate lunch in this lady's house, you know, and
cottage industry
in Mexico in this little village. And I mean, the kids still talk about it. And Delaney was 4, I think, when she went the first time we went to Mexico. She was 4, and she still remembers that. But she doesn't. Awesome. I promise you, she doesn't remember what stuffed animal she got for Christmas when she was 4.
Yeah,
you know, she remembers she can tell you almost timeline of how the cruise went, you know. And she got one Christmas present that year, and she's never even mentioned that Christmas present, but she can remember everything that happened on the cruise. And so I would never, you know, I don't need that 6-bedroom house. I don't need I would like the 200 acres. That land is something that I'm kind of kicking myself when I had opportunities, and that putting my head down for 5 years. Give me 5 years so I can give you the rest of my life type of thing. I kind of skipped that part. Yeah, I skipped that part for not being mature enough, and I'm glad you were mature enough to figure that out. But I don't need the other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I like the experiences, and I mean, I'm getting to live that pretty regularly anymore. So
yeah, man, I see it. I'd see it. I dig it. Like, you got some
Cole's out there.
You got some cool shit out there.
I'm learning.
I like it.
I'm working on it. So
yeah, it becomes a big responsibility though when you bring all those people on and you're starting to look at it that way of like, they don't really I don't have 20 people working for me. I work for 20 people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and their families.
Yeah,
I'm not just responsible for them. I'm responsible for, you know, for their kids, for their wife, for their husbands, you know, in some cases.
Yeah.
So
I'd say not too shabby for 2 guys that were building rivers out of gasoline and lighting it on fire and then burying it when we were little. What's next for Alpha? Where's your next 5?
Man, so I've got some really good opportunities coming up here because so Jonathan and I have kind of he's my general manager. He's my good hire, and then he's made some really good hires because that's his job. So him and I, we've been on this train for probably the last 4 years anyway, and we've talked about brick and mortar branches, and then we've also talked about satellite service areas. And with bringing on our branch manager out in Butte, who we took from a manufacturer within the industry, he kind of knew everybody throughout the industry, throughout Montana. Very well liked by a lot of people for the job that he did where he was. And great communication, always said what he was going to, always did what he said he was going to do. Things like that. Followed up. He was a man of his word, things like that. And those are the types of things that are really important to him. And so from bringing him on, from bringing our commercial sales estimator is also from the industry, 10 years. He's from Missoula, from a corporate office out in Missoula. And so between the two of them, people throughout the industry, throughout Montana, are contacting them and saying, well, hey, you went to this company, and I'm curious as to why you went to this company, because you're, we looked at you as being this type of person and this, that, and the other. So right now, there's a lot of momentum and a lot of opportunity. And so we are in the middle of scaling it properly. I don't know what necessarily is in the future, but there's a lot of things within the next year that could be that are pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So
got exciting things happening then.
Yeah. I'm excited, and like I said, I'm in the process because I used to do a lot of things that we just hired people for in July. So I'm only 2.5 months removed from doing a lot of these duties, that now the people that are in this position are competent, and I trust them enough to not have to stick my fingers back in those duties, that I am now learning what the hell's my new job? What am I doing now? Which is a crazy thing as the owner of a company to say, what is my job? But it's also really neat because the people that I have in place, I trust enough to be able to take it and do it. And so, like I said earlier, I think that I'm figuring out how to write myself out of the operations side of things and solely be focused on risk management and growth, which go hand in hand. So that's where I'm at.
What do you got any type of a mentor, or how do you find direction, or how do you learn this as you go? I'm just saying, where do you go to for the dreams, for the just all of that? It takes dreams first, and then it takes, okay, what direction should we be heading in? I guess I'm saying, where do you find influence from through this process?
I'm another thing that I'm thankful to my mother about. My mother realized where she was inadequate and couldn't give me the education that I need, for as much as I dog on my mom, and I love her to death. Great woman, but she's a unique woman. She realized where she was inept, and she brought people in, which then I hired full time, and then they didn't get along too well because they were like, maybe it's not him, that type of thing. But she would bring in these mentors. So one of the people who really started me down my journey, his name was Russ Cherry. He's no longer with us. He died a couple years ago, passed away, young age, but he's been dealing with, he was a miracle in and of himself. He should not have been alive since the age of 16. And, anyway, great guy, amazing guy, taught me all sorts of amazing shit. Like the first time I met with him, he goes, okay, what is your dream of Alpha? Give me your dream of Alpha in the next 10 years. What do you want to do in the next 10 years? So I went back in a week, I wrote him 7 pages, handwritten, 7 pages worth of stuff, like my vision, where my goal, and he goes, and I gave it to him, and I was super proud of it, and he didn't even read it. He didn't even read it. Wow. He looks at me and he goes, I'm assuming you took a lot of time on this. I said, yes, I did, like super proud. And he goes, how do you make this happen in 1 year? And I was like,
without even reading it. He didn't even look at it.
He didn't even look at it. And he goes, how do you make this happen in 1 year? And so from that point is when I realized, oh, okay. So I am not like, I need to now be in a moment. I need to live in a moment, think in a moment, because these people are now like, he kind of trained me to realize that I don't have 10 years to make that a reality. I don't have it. How do you make that a reality in 1 year? So that he taught me how to dream big enough that other people's could dream, or other people's dream could fit inside. So he was number one. Number two, right now I have 3 people basically that I keep on retainer. And one is a personal and business coach, who handles frustrations, but he also comes in, he's great with systems, and people. And so he comes in, he meets with me, he meets with Jonathan, he meets with kind of my executive team, and gets us thinking in ways that we don't normally are programmed to think, or we get stuck in the day-to-day, and he breaks us out of the day-to-day, things like that. So I have him. His counterpart is his name is Ed Davis. Now Ed Davis is like 6'4". He's like 86 years old, and the dude still perms his hair. Like, this guy, straight out of the 80s. Like, he shows up to my office in flip-flops, like tan shorts, and a Hawaiian shirt. Like, nice. Straight up.
Magnum PI.
Yeah, and he is so cool. He's so funny. But he is one of the only people that Montana uses. I don't know if he does it anymore. He's kind of got out of that game. He just kind of consults for like me and a few others. But he's one of the few people that Montana State used as a forensic accountant for white collar crime, things like that. And then I also have a financial advisor. That I kind of,
so you got a team,
I keep on retainer. And so I think it's important, because I'm not like, I listen to a crap ton of podcasts too. So that's another place that I gain a lot of inspiration, and I would say probably podcasts and things more, is where I gain a lot of my inspiration. But then the people that I have on retainer who have done it, like Tim, my operations and people guy, like, he negotiated the trade, the sale of American Express to the Lehman Brothers. Like, he was in that room. Like, that's the caliber of this guy. And so so I get a lot of ideas and things from podcasts, and I bring them in, and he's like, okay,
helps you sift.
Let's weed this out, because that's a lot of fluff, and let's weed that out, because that's a lot of fluff, and that only works in certain worlds. And so but I would say the majority of my inspiration, my desire, my drive, and things like that is listening to other people.
What would you say then are your 2 top podcasts that you find that you get the best value from?
Do you guys listen to Andy Frisella? Real AF?
Once in a while. I haven't listened to it often.
Yeah. I freaking love that guy. Yeah.
Is he the bald guy, totally ripped?
First Form is his company. First Form's his company.
And he's just
he's ripped.
Okay.
F word every other sentence.
I've seen him.
Andy Frisella. Anyway, I love his podcast. but I don't listen to it religiously because there's quite a few of them in there that I just don't
feel like it applies.
But I really like his stuff because when I'm starting to feel like I'm like down and out, or I'm unique in my experiences or something like that, he just looks at you and is like, F you, dude. Your shit ain't unique. You ain't unique to anybody else. Quit feeling sorry for yourself and get off your ass and do some shit. Like, and so he's like a okay, I'm a friggin' lion. I'm gonna go at this thing.
Re-sparks.
And so that's kind of what I get off of him. But then I also I listen to a plethora of different ones. Like Quick Brain is another one. Hidden Brain, which is an NPR. It comes on every Sunday at noon, I think.
Yeah.
Hidden Brain is an amazing one because it's about the psychology of how your mind works.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so I really, really like listening to that one. So Hidden Brain, Quick Brain is another one that is like, it's like 15 to 25 minute episodes that are just kind of quick hitters of how you can adjust or use different rhythms and things like that to maximize your brain capacity. And then I listen to Masters of Scale, which is a cool one, just because I like the scaling process. Masters of Scale doesn't really work in my they don't have home service or construction or anything like that. But it's the concepts of that, but it's mostly software and things like that where they're scaling from 200,000 to 500 million only requires hiring 5 other people and things like that. But I enjoy listening to the concepts. I listen to Gary Vee. I like Gary Vee's stuff. He's an incredible marketer.
I love Gary Vee. My brother actually just met Gary Vee.
Nice.
That he just had that VCon.
And
my brother was there running. He's got all the V friends, and he's built up this whole thing. He's just kind of built his own trading cards by building his own characters.
Yeah.
Right. And so my brother was, I need to talk to him. I don't even know how he got hired to do that, but he got hired to come in and run all of his V friends at this event.
That's cool.
And so, I don't know what that even was, because he has a background in mascotting. So he has a long career in that. And so he went there to run something through that VCon event with all of those V-friend mascot type things. And then, anyway, so afterwards he got to... he was saying that Gary Vee was just an animal, meeting with people for he'd been standing there meeting with people for over 4 hours by the time he actually got to meet. He looked wiped out. And,
I'll bet.
But he got to talk to him for a little bit.
That's
cool. He said it was really cool. So I'll have to get more info on that, of how that all happened. But
the Candy Valentina show, she does a really good job interviewing entrepreneurs, things like that. The home service expert, which is Tommy Mello. He's the owner of A1 Garage Door Service out of Arizona. He's a $250 million company.
Oh.
And so he's legit, and he's in my industry. He knows what he's doing. The guy's up. He's pretty pompous.
Yeah.
But he knows his shit.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. You don't get to $250 million without knowing what you're doing. He's got master's degrees in finance and business and things like that from University of Ohio or Ohio State. He's smart. So that's kind of stuff where I kind of gain some inspiration.
That's interesting.
Things like that.
I'm always interested to see what other people's inspirations are, because
See what else I got on that podcast list here.
Yeah, because you can get into your own ruts. You can get into ruts, and sometimes it takes getting out of exactly what your field is. Like you said, that one was just not, it's not everything, but there's stuff you can take out of it concepts that you can learn in other things.
Ooh, making the ideal real.
I haven't heard of that one either.
Making the ideal reel. Like Instagram reel?
No.
REAL. REAL. I was like, dude, there's a podcast for that?
So yeah, making the ideal real. Born to Run It is another one. I'm sure you've maybe heard this one, Food Truck Empire.
I believe I have. Yes.
I've listened to a few episodes of those, which is pretty cool because it gets into that entrepreneurial how am I going to set myself apart? And then another one that I'm glad I looked through that, Tribe of Mentors. Is another good podcast for entrepreneurs, business stuff like that. So
yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
very.
I love podcasts. I do a lot of them, or listen to a lot of them, and I like to bounce around. I can't really stick. I go through different phases, but definitely when I was going to work at whatever time in the middle of the night while we were prepping food and everything else, I always had a good bunch of stuff I would play because being motivated at that hour was super difficult sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah.
So finding the right stuff, and I was also doing a lot of Gary Vee back then. I was listening to a lot of audiobooks. I did a bunch of Grant Cardone stuff, and that was a long time. That was several years ago. I did find a lot of his books I found were pretty helpful.
Oh, it's Thunder, wasn't it?
Yeah. I gotta.
That'd be cool if it picked it up.
Well,
did you get an alert?
No, I did see a text though from my wife saying some massive storm hit because I'm about as a crow flies, I'm 6 miles out of town to the west.
Okay.
And I got a message from her a little bit ago saying we got slammed with a crazy storm.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll hail on my house.
Hail on your house.
I need some new siding. Nice.
Yeah.
So when you need that inspiration and you're not looking to listen, because I go through phases of like I listen to a lot of audiobooks, I listen to a lot of podcasts. Now I just kind of want to chill out and zone out on some stuff.
Yeah.
What is your go-to like tunes?
What's my go-to tunes?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
like
interesting.
when you want to chill out and get work done, what are your go-to what's your go-to tunes?
I wouldn't call that chill, I guess. If I want to get work done, my go-to has always been The Offspring.
Okay.
Or System of a Down.
Oh, okay.
And
opposite of what I would go.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm just chill, whatever, I do listen to various just electronic chill channels too.
Nice.
Stuff that
like Yanni? Like Yanni type electronic chill?
Yeah, not like no. like one of them that I've started
Dude,
playing.
I remember my mom had like Yanni albums all over the place.
No, I'm talking like I would say it's more like I don't know how to explain. No, it's got a beat. It's like
yeah.
Light industrial.
Yeah,
something like that. Like I find some weird stuff out there.
Explosions in the sky.
I like that stuff.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I go into these weird modes too. Like I put like this like Japanese trap house music, and because it has no words.
Right.
But if I want to get something done, it's just got a beat.
Yeah.
It's going. It's got something weird, exotic in the background.
Okay.
I do a lot of that. Like
nice.
when I'm here working on the studio, and I just put something on, and that gets me just. But if it's got, I don't know, so much of the stuff nowadays, I don't really like too much. But I go old school a little bit. The other one I listen to a Cypress Hill channel on Spotify,
nice.
and it gives me just like this. I don't know what it is about that channel, but it gives me a wide range of stuff. But if I'm looking to relax, I play a lot of reggae. I play a lot of soja, a lot of stick figure.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of like Modest Yahoo, a lot of all that kind of stuff. And that's what we chill to. So we would have like honestly, when I was doing with the food trailer, we had music for when the doors were closed, and then we had music for when the doors were open. But that was the stuff that we were just jamming, and I controlled the pace in there. Like I would, sometimes we need to just chill. I can tell everybody's uptight. There was music I put on for that because I had loudspeakers in there, and that was all. A lot of that was just because I wanted people to have at that hour. I wanted you to have to yell out your order to us. I wanted us to have to be able to say,
"What?
I'm sorry, what?" Because it's 5:15 a.m. and I'm sorry, but there's a lot of loud Offspring playing back here, or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, and there was other things that we played for that type of stuff. But I guess, I'm all over the place with all that stuff. But when I'm at home working and I really got to get something done, it's a System of a Down channel.
Okay.
It's Blink 182. It's Offspring.
Hell yeah.
But if I'm not so serious about it, it's a lot of reggae.
A lot of reggae. Hell yeah.
I'm all over the place, man. I've got playlists for gym. I've got a playlist for if I'm in my patrol truck patrolling. I've got a playlist if I'm just chilling. The gym, Skillet is a go-to. I'm always listening to Skillet, Five Finger Death Punch, System of the Down, some Slipknot, and then I've got a lot of Dwight Yoakam.
Nice.
I am a huge Dwight fan. And side note, he's coming out with a new album.
Is he?
In November. Yes. And he just did a collab with Post Malone, which is actually a really good country song. So a lot of that, a lot of traditional Irish music. I find myself, if I'm just if I need to zone out for a little bit with a little bit of whiskey, I'll just put on, some Young Dubliner or some Colm McCullough, just some that good Irish,
folk, and some good folk,
some good Irish folk.
Yeah, I do a lot of that. I have. I haven't. I go in phases. I get out of it for a while, and then I go right back into it for a while.
A lot of traditional country music. A lot of the Red Dirt country.
Red Dirt, CCR, not Creedence.
Yeah. Cross Canadian Ragweed. Some Bakersfield country stuff from back in the 80s and 90s. Stuff that we listened to around the house growing up,
It's badass.
But, then there's that stuff I need to get zoned into if I'm going to a hot call or something like that, and it'll just be the loudest whatever I can find just to
Nice. I have one guilty thing, I guess.
Taylor Swift.
Nah.
Tay-Tay.
Rammstein. I go into Rammstein. Yeah, Rammstein.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but about 2 years ago, all of a sudden, I just was all of a sudden, that was my thing that I had in while I was working before April would show up. April, not on board.
Dude, so we were talking about podcasts a minute ago. I just got an update yesterday. That podcast that I've told you about, Legends of the Old West, that Chris Wimmer, that does them all, he's just starting a new series on mountain men.
Ooh.
And his first one is Jedediah Smith.
Oh, nice.
I can't listen to it without Shasta. She'll kick my ass because we've listened to all of his stuff. But dude, I'm super stoked for this next. So you listen to all the motivational stuff. Mine's all photography podcasts and history stuff.
Nice.
I have so many history podcasts. This Day in History is a 25-minute one that the guy just picks a place from whatever it could be. It was one of them was the guy that wrote Peter Pan.
So I gotta step outside, dudes. Real quick.
Do it.
I gotta take a break.
Yeah.
So Spotify, speaking going on AI route, Spotify, I pull up the day list. If you just search day list in Spotify, has me pretty nailed.
Does it? Isn't it scary how bad they can nail us now?
I just search my day list, search day list, press play, and it's almost exactly what I want to be listening to at that individual point in time. Whether
that's
it's
crazy,
like stringy folk music, banjo folk, to into reggae, into Incubus type, indie rock, to reggae. I listen to a lot of reggae.
You know what's so funny about this though, is if this was, three middle-aged guys in the 1990s or 1980s talking about what music do you listen to, I just feel like maybe I'm projecting here, but I just feel like it would be, I listen to this. You had one genre or one radio channel. I feel like guys were more in one category. People were in more one category.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that has changed so much with the way
with how you can listen
streaming
to
and
music.
what you have access to.
You don't have to buy
now.
CDs anymore.
And now, so now
you get
you
music for free.
Yeah, you would listen. You would hear things on the radio, and then you would be like, "I want to get more of that." And you usually listen to 1 to 2 radio channels. And guys our age would maybe listen to some like either like a classic rock and like maybe a country station together, or whatever it may be. But it's
93 The Mountain.
Yeah, like you'd
I
feel
still
like
listen to that.
you would feel like that's how you branched out. Was like I had like 2 genres, you know, like. But it's funny that we all start ripping out all this stuff, and it's interesting that in a small town in Montana, that's what people are into.
It's great, man.
It's interesting that I'm like reggae, and you're like, yes, you know, it's just like,
I love it. Man.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because of what you have access to.
Right, but it's the same way with like sport teams. I mean, growing up here, we had 2 channels that showed sports, and it was WGN or TBS. And so if you were a baseball fan and you lived here, you were either a Cubs fan or a Braves fan, you know, for a long time. And then we were able to get Root TV or whatever. So you could watch the Mariners.
Then you got the Mariners.
Yeah. But then for football, we were a region, you know, we could only get football for a region, so you either watch the Seattle Seahawks or the Broncos. Once in a while, Minnesota Vikings.
That was the other one.
So those were pretty much your teams that you could. And now, I mean, there's like my nephew.
And now you can't watch Monday Night Football without subscribing to ESPN.
I know. But like my nephew, Brody in Billings, he's a huge Cincinnati Bengals fan.
Really?
Yeah. But when we were growing up, we would have never got to watch him
Yeah.
play ever.
What app do you consume the most content on?
Ooh, man.
MySpace.
Old school.
The Hotmail account to get into MySpace.
Go. Wow. Which one? Like which Hotmail account did you create for which?
Man.
Yeah.
Man. As far as like just
when you are like you're mindlessly whatever, you're escaping in that moment, and you pick up and you're gonna just go jump into an app that you just want to just see what's up or see what scroll through some stuff.
TikTok probably.
Really?
Yeah, I know it's a communist clickbait stuff, but no, I don't have strong feelings about that. For the same reason. I mean, all of them do it. I just haven't gotten into like. I know Instagram, you have that capability of just scrolling through that type of video reels. I think
Instagram is real.
I never got into that when Facebook and Instagram were it, and then all of a sudden TikTok came out, and I was like, well, what's this about? And I got it, and then I started seeing a bunch of like probably underage girls on my feed, and I was like, nope, delete. And then people showed me, they were like, no, you can actually, like search and define where you want to be. And so now I get a bunch of fun, cool content.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, those sneak through, but it's...
Man, I have not been on TikTok since we got out of the burrito business. It's interesting.
It's just it's a fun. We're alphas on TikTok, so I'm on every platform that that alpha is.
Yeah,
and so it's just one of those that most of the time I'm not seeing, like other than Cole, or the CW photography.
All right, what platform are you
others
on the most?
Instagram.
Yeah. What about Snapchat?
Yeah. Not hardly at all.
Okay.
Like I talked to 4 people on Snapchat, and three of them are my family.
Yeah.
But no, I was on Instagram though because it originally started out to be a photography thing, and then they had to keep up with TikTok and everything else, so they started the reels and the stories and everything like that, and it's pretty much ruined Instagram. I mean, Instagram now is, algorithms and stuff are pretty much based on reels. If you're not big into the reel game, you're not losing. I mean, you're not gaining a whole bunch.
Yeah, you're not getting in front of people.
A buddy of mine made a really good reel, and went from like 3,000 followers to 18,000 followers in a week, because of the algorithm on the reels. And so Instagram is still my go-to though, just because that's where I started.
It's still free to play.
Yeah,
too.
It's still
also,
free.
It's not pay to play.
you know, and then I'm on Facebook. I mean, I've got my photography page and my personal page on Facebook, and then I'm on TikTok a little bit, but not a whole lot. I do when I make a reel or make a story, something like that, it just hits and goes right to all of them at once.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I have my stuff on, and actually TikTok, as much as I don't like being on it, I get a lot of interaction with people on there.
There's a lot of organic interaction.
Yeah,
and then TikTok,
and then I'm still a YouTube guy. I still love YouTube, and I think YouTube's making a big comeback.
They are
short form and long form video on YouTube.
Yeah, I have been a YouTube guy for years, and years and years. I've never.
You're a big YouTube guy. You do a lot. Of YouTube
I spend a lot. Most of my time is all on YouTube.
My kids spend a lot of time on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just where I get most of my podcasts. Mm-hmm. That's where I get. I'll listen to it, or I'll shut the screen off. I'll shut the screen off and just listen to it.
Yeah.
Now that they've gotten even heavier. Anyway, but if I want to see it, if I want to pop in there, I'll see it. I don't know why. I just spend a lot of time on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And honestly, too, I think I've gotten out of. I haven't been listening to as many like business-minded podcasts as I have been more current events. I listen to Patrick Bet David a lot. I found I like that one. I don't listen to any of them religiously. I don't get into any of them every day.
Yeah, me neither.
But I do like to. I do pop into some of their videos here and there when I see something. I like his take on business. I like his books too. Patrick Bet David. You ever listen to his audiobooks?
If he's got audiobooks, I'm down. I'm down for audiobooks.
He's got a really good book called. I would recommend this one to you. It's a good one. It's I've listened to it twice, and it's just. I think it's called Choose Your Enemies Wisely.
Okay.
Business. I think it's called Business Strategy for the Audacious Few.
That's the name of the book?
Yep. Choose Your Enemies Wisely.
Okay.
And I think it really applies to anybody in any industry. I mean, you could take concepts of what he's talking about. If you're a number two or a number three,
Patrick Bet David.
Patrick Bet David.
Done.
He is a really good success story.
And confirmed.
And he and his podcast or his YouTube and he started a company called Valuetainment. He's become a huge influence and a big player. But then when I found him from Rogan. He was on Rogan several years ago, and I was like, who's this guy? But then it took me a little while to really go and look for him. Then when I went and I looked for him, I'm like, ooh, I like his style. I don't know. It's not necessarily even like everything he talks about, which I do like what he talks about, but I also like his style. And anyway, just a really good guy. And that book is awesome. It's about, choosing. This is what's great about that book. It is so right. He's like nothing. He goes, people that if you're building a business or you're building a career or you're doing whatever, and people will say, okay, well, think about what do you want to achieve? Where do you want to go? And all this stuff. I'm going to do his book no justice here, but he's like, that's not as powerful as who are those enemies? Who is that third grade teacher that told you are going to be a mess? Who is,
nice. Heck yeah.
Right. And it's interesting. And he's not saying, oh, hold anger and hold on to things and hate that person forever. But he's saying it, and it made me stop and I think, and I was like, holy cow, like, yeah, I got family members who I love and adore, but like in that, I'm like, gosh, that they said this and they're right. There's something in that they were when they said this, it bugged me, but they were right. And at this level, that's my motivation.
Yeah.
Today, that's my motivation. Now, that shouldn't be your motivation next year because you should be beyond that level. And then you should be choosing new enemies.
Right.
And that's what he goes through. That's cool. And he shows in
I'm excited to listen to it then.
Yeah, he talks about at what levels he was and some of the things he'd done to get that next level of enemy. Of like, he tells this story about, he's like, yeah, I was at this point, you think I'm doing pretty good, blah, 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 blah. And there was this guy, and he's in the industry. He's much bigger than I was. But I went to a conference of his, and I called him out. I heckled him, and I whatever, and security all got called in, and he told me, you know what, Patrick Bet David, you are a loser. You are never going to be, this guy. And he goes, And he says, everybody's like, oh no, are these guys going to like fight? And he tells this story. He's like, he says, I looked at him, I said, thank you. And he says, and I turned around and I walked out. He goes, and that was what I needed.
Yeah.
I needed to hear that from him. And he goes,
That's
and now
cool.
he's like, I'm at a level like, is he my enemy? He's like, no, I got nothing against that guy. He's like, but he's that's like a long time ago.
It's past.
Anyway,
it's gone.
it was an interesting concept, and not to do it in a negative way or to hold things in a negative way, but embrace those true things that, or had a slice of truth to it that if you have the right self-awareness to recognize that, hey, that bugged you what they said, but at that time there was a ring of truth in that.
Mm-hmm.
Better yourself and go to the next level. Use that as fuel to go to the next level.
Absolutely.
But if you're using that as fuel forever, you're not going to grow.
Yeah, you're not doing it right.
You're not going to grow.
Yep. Yep.
Super good book. I've listened to it twice. Back to back I listened to that one.
Heck yeah.
And anyway, so we could go on a tangent about all that kind of stuff. That's where I find some of that inspiration. But anyway, man, I appreciate you coming in here. We could keep on going. I feel like it's funny when we bring, we meet people and like come in here and all of a sudden I'm like, holy cow, I could talk to this person for 4 more hours. And it's interesting, like, I don't know, I would never get that opportunity unless we had this place. And like, I don't know that this is ever going to turn into anything, but it sure is fun to like learn from people.
Oh yeah.
Interesting people who are passionate about what they're doing, and that's the whole point of this.
Yeah, and I don't. I've lived a lot of life. Cole knows quite a bit of it. I've lived a lot of life. I've grown and taught myself a lot in business, but I don't know everything, and I don't have much to give anybody. But I do what I know, and I like to teach, which is why I went to school to be a teacher. So it's just fun. It's fun to talk about business. It's fun to talk about life. It's fun to talk about, I'm huge into cooperation. Like,
I feel like
I have competition, but not really. Like I have competition in Billings,
right?
But they're not really my competition. I get along great with them. I cooperate with them. I send business their way. They send business my way. I buy stuff from them. They buy stuff from me. Like, we don't mark shit up crazy astronomical amounts because they're the competition. So
you do have the coolest signs, though. I don't know if Milo's ever seen your sign, but his billboards in Billings.
I don't know if
he's got the best location too.
I've seen your stuff around. And it's interesting because Cole's like, oh, he's from here, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that.
I'm from here. I don't live here. But
right.
Yeah.
Of course,
I grew up a lot of the formative years.
But
were spent here.
I can't right offhand. I can't think of any. I haven't been in town very often at all lately, but I remember seeing you guys around all the time. There's times where I see your trucks around all the time. And it stood out to me because I'm like, oh, you guys there was a lot of customers. There were a lot of customers all the time. April and I, if we're out driving around, I'm like, oh, there's Alpha, whatever. Yes. And we look in the truck because we're like, maybe that's one of our friends,
Yeah.
So anyway, my point is that you guys have been very visible to us.
Good.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Good.
Seeing you guys all around, and you'll have to tell me more where I need to be looking to check some stuff out. But
City Center exit.
Yeah, City Center going into town.
All right.
Just look on the right hand side.
Okay, I will remember that
all the time.
Yeah,
that's good.
But I find you're sitting here trying to you're playing the humble game, which I appreciate. But everybody, it doesn't matter like what level you guys are at, what level you're at. Like, I find there's so much to learn from everybody at whatever levels they're at in that. Like, I find that totally interesting.
I would have never imagined having a team. I mean, it's hard enough for me to talk about my feelings that it is. I still have a piece of paper on my desk where I get paid to go talk to a mental health professional that specializes in multiple traumatic incidences. I get paid to go do that, and it's still sitting on my desk. I haven't done it. So, I mean,
dude, you got to add that person to your team.
I know, but I mean, I would have never in a million years thought about having this team that you have to help you in your adventure and to help you stay focused, sane, and thriving. And to me, having a team, I mean, I would have never thought that until tonight. And I didn't know. I mean, that's something I didn't know about you. And I mean, we lived in the same house for 9
Right.
months. And we spent up until we were 15, 16 years old. We were together a lot.
Experimenting with pyromania.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we both went to college to be history teachers, and so did my brother. So I mean, there's something there.
That's funny.
Yeah, but
yeah, I think that's something. And I think the tough man complex. Like I'm a tough man and I don't need help, because I had that early on.
Yeah.
Of I know what I'm doing and I don't need help to get where I'm going. Really knocked me back for quite a while because I kept running the same freaking wall. And so I think that is, while I think that our masculinity is, at least the people in this room as well in hand, is important, and our women need it, our kids need it.
Right, absolutely.
There is a vulnerability that also comes with masculinity that I think was taught wrong to our parents, which then some of that trickled down into us, where masculine men can't be vulnerable. They can't cry. They have to be strong at all times. I don't have to be strong, and I'm thankful that I have a wife, and I know you do too. I don't know your wife, but I'm assuming the same thing, where I don't have to be the rock all the time, and I'm thankful for that. And that
allows you to be human.
That allows me to be me.
Right.
That allows me to then work on mental health is a huge thing. That is still a hush-hush conversation in a lot of realms, and it shouldn't be. And so I think, especially on the men's side of things, that the more that you can be vulnerable and take care of your mental health, because you won't, just trying to be the tough man.
Oh yeah.
Is all important. So
yeah, and I'm learning that, and I'll be the first one to admit it. I mean,
hey, I was the first.
Oh yeah,
one.
that was no dig on you by any means,
no.
Hey, I was the first one here to admit that I'm afraid of cold water. Okay, so I mean,
and
I hold my wuss flag high.
Yeah. I mean, the mental health issue, especially in my career field, is a big stigma still, which is probably why I still have that paperwork on my desk that I haven't gone and explored that at all. But
I would imagine in your industry, to be the guy who's taken, unless you've just been recently involved in something catastrophic, to be exercising that when other people are like, oh, that's got to be, I would feel like, well, I don't want to act like there's something wrong with me by going and,
right.
Exploring this or going and talking to somebody about some stuff or whatever it may be. I would imagine there'd be some hesitation in because in tons of different jobs or careers, whatever you want to call it, that I had in different industries, they would make somebody available for this or this or this, but you just never wanted to be the guy who was actually taking advantage of that, because you didn't want anybody to think there was any kind of weakness there or any red flags, so you stay away from that.
Our social acceptance. I was listening to a Quick Brain today that talked exactly into what we're talking about. Like, our desire for social acceptance outweighs to our detriment in a lot of cases. And they were talking about during World War II when the Japanese, there was basically no hope left, which came in the kamikaze pilots. They basically stood up and said, hey, this is what your mission is. Anybody who doesn't want to do it, step forward.
Right.
And nobody stepped forward because their social acceptance was a greater need than basically their life was at that point in time.
Yeah.
So, which it's not any different for them than it is for us. No,
100%.
And so it's that's the thing. But I was just listening to that today.
But I think in a case like that, it's more like changing perspective versus anything of being like, this isn't a negative, this is a positive for me, and a tool and a team member and a support that if I just change the way I look at it, no matter what somebody else is thinking or whatever else, I don't know, it's just another support or another toolbox, another tool in the toolbox or something. I don't know. You see what I'm getting at.
Totally get what you're getting at.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Huh.
So,
wow, impressive.
But I am going to steal your mindset of dream big so other people's dream big enough so other people's dreams can fit in mine. I like that.
Yeah.
That is super awesome. I'm super glad you came and did this.
Yeah.
It was good to catch up.
Yeah, for sure.
For more than 45 minutes.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But we've actually got to see quite a bit of each other in the last few months, so let's keep it up.
Hopefully
we'll have to do it again maybe. Maybe you'd be open
Hopefully what?
Hopefully more soon or later.
Be open to coming back to the Big Fat Studios again.
Yeah, man.
We could do it again.
Heck yeah.
There's always more to talk about.
All right. So this is the time where we just keep talking and everything fades out and then it goes to the meeting.